Morning, friends. Ash here, NPNP News. It's April 9th, 2026, and you saw that Pam Bondi was fired, but there's other questions that at this late point in the game have not been answered by the people in power, right? And we're starting to see that some of the most die-hard Trump supporters who had supported Trump going back to his 2016 run are even turning on him now and saying he should be removed, which is odd, right? Because you'd think that those guys would say, well, okay, he's not doing the med beds. All right, well, we can sort of make an excuse for that, but not into the second term, right? You should have seen that already. You could look at it and say, well, if I was Trump, I would have done this and this and this and this, and he didn't, like, the exact opposite of everything I thought he would do, right? I was going back over some of my older shows thinking, what is going on? Why aren't these people implementing all these things that could have saved us? We didn't need to go through the COVID thing, right? That was fake. And on top of it being fake, there were drugs that could have helped the populace get better, right? Hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, that were, you saw your government come out and just go crazy when those things got brought up, right? Saying that hydroxychloroquine could kill you. It might kill you if you take it, which is a complete lie. Right? People in Africa have been taking hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine and quinine, which is a offshoot of which is what chloroquine is an offshoot of something called quinine, right? Which can be found in tonic water. You ever drink like a gin and tonic, right? Quinine used to be in tonic water. I don't know if it still is. You'd have to check. But in other words, you could make your own hydroxychloroquine. People were taking quinine for years to ward off certain illnesses, mosquito-borne illnesses that are common to places like Africa, right? Where they have a lot of people who used to die and still do die from mosquito-borne illnesses. What do you think malaria is, right? So the Strait of Hormuz was reopened allegedly, and the gays of Hormuz, who don't exist, are safe. There was a lot of concern about the gays of Hormuz, but luckily there are no gays of Hormuz, and they are not in danger because they do not in fact exist. What I thought was even more damning was the woman that the gentleman was asking that question to, who is making fun of these people. She apparently was a professor. Which makes it even more stinging, right? That you're a professor and you probably you claiming you went to some hot hoity-toity, big school, got your degree, and you're talking about the gays of Hormuz. Norm Hamill said, Happy Easter. Thanks, Norm. Happy Easter to you and your family. If you celebrate Passover, Easter, any other holidays that I missed, I hope you had a wonderful holidays with your family. U.S. Special Forces commandos had 23 men kill list during UAE assassination plot. Norm said he went into the steam room where he lived and he was shocked. Well, it might not be everywhere. The big cities, it's a different story, right? I don't know. Maybe in a country gym where it's a small town, you don't have the rabid homosexuals running around that you do in places like New York where there's a lot of homosexual people, right? A lot of gay people here. And, to this day, there's still a lot of closeted gay men. So, unfortunately, the locker room is a place where, right? Hey, I'm in the steam, you're in the steam, nobody else is really around, you can't see anything. I don't know, right? That's not my cup of tea. I like to go in the steam room and relax. Just sit there, right? And not have to worry about, hey, is there some guy getting it on like 5 feet from me and I can't see? And unfortunately, I don't use in my gym, I don't use the steam room at all. I just don't feel comfortable. Data Overload 9, thank you. I appreciate that. Happy Easter wish. Thank you so much. Happy Easter to you and your family as well. I appreciate you people listening. Some of the people have been listening to me for years when we were even back on YouTube before that got destroyed, unfortunately. YouTube never came back, unfortunately. I had put many years of work into my site there. I had the same amount of shows as I have on the Rumble. I think even more on that site. So I don't have all the shows. If you go to my YouTube page, which is just Nonprofit News Pundit NPNP News, on YouTube, you'll be able to see the earlier shows that got erased that weren't on YouTube and are not even on Rumble. So there's about, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 shows you missed. If you really want to go back to the beginning. It's not just Florida and Texas threatening New York City's sputtering tax base. Another big worry is coming. So people are starting to leave New York. I'm trying to leave. It's just, it seems to become more difficult every time you try. There's something about the energy here that keeps you from, makes it really difficult to leave. And then if you've lived only like really in one place your whole life, like where do you go? I mean, you don't know anywhere else, right? And so you've been to some other places, but nothing's going to feel like your home anymore. And so it's a hard place to leave because nothing's going to compare to it that you go to, and that's okay. It's just, you got to think about, do I want another city? Do I want a smaller city? Do I want like rural? It's kind of a shock to go from New York City, where there's millions of people, to like rural living. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I've lived for a time rurally, and it's a whole different lifestyle. Much slower, a little bit more relaxed, laid back. I didn't mind it, but I think I'd like something in between, like maybe a smaller city like type place, where not everyone's not so insane. What else is going on, right? You're seeing that. I mean, it's funny, right, to watch some of these old news pundits who've been out a few years start to wake up and say, oh, wow, what the heck's going on? Like they're finally figuring it out. And these are kids who are like Generation Z and Y and X, not X. Y, Z, and millennials are starting to wake the fuck up. X has been awake for like 25, 30 years, most of X, unless you're just X that's had their head in the sand. And there's a lot of X that had their head in the sand. A lot of X still has their head in the sand. Trust me on that. So I think what's happening is like Y, Z, and millennials are waking up even before some Generation Xers are and saying, what the hell are we doing here? And then maybe they find a site like mine and say, wow, this guy's like 56 years old. He's been around for like 25 years looking at these people. And this is what he's seeing. And they're still here. How is that possible after 9/11? How come we didn't identify these networks even back then, right? And it's hard to explain why we didn't. I mean, some people had done it. But even people like myself weren't fully seeing the picture, around 2000, 2001 too, because remember, the computers had just come out. You don't realize how many people didn't have a computer even in 2000, believe it or not. I don't think I did. I'm trying to remember when I got my first computer. I think it was like right around that time, 2099. So just as the Matrix is coming out, right, Generation X is getting computers. They're logging into the internet matrix that they're creating right in front of our very eyes, and we're looking at it like, what is this thing? I don't like it. But then we start to realize, look at the information that's offered. All the information is right there at your fingertips. This is going to be the way we can possibly win, right? Because we can wake everybody up with the information that's going to be. And then there was that point in YouTube where it was like the YouTube, I don't know, it was about maybe 5 or 6 years in where it just blew up, right? And there was all this information on YouTube, and videos that you can't even find anymore were on there. And people were waking up and realizing, holy shit, like, these people just blew up the freaking World Trade Centers on us on purpose to facilitate something. What was it? And we couldn't see it at the time. What was the plan? Where were they steering us towards? And it was towards Agenda 2020, which is now Agenda 2030, right? Which is that we want to fundamentally change the world and where people can live in that world. We want to create a one world government, one world religion, one world currency, one world matrix of control where we control everything. We control the movement of human beings. We control your money. And we have, in fact, turned you into an asset of a global corporation that may exist in the future, that already does exist, right? That's off planet. Okay? And how are we going to do this to you? Well, we're going to disinform and misinform you your entire life, from the cradle to the grave. Because we control all the major news outlets, we control the banks, we control everything that surrounds your life. And we forced you into a matrix that you must live in, that you must work and earn in, and that you must die in. And you must live and die in, right? Outrageous. Oracle files thousands of foreign worker requests. But you just laid off all these people. Now what's going on in places like Texas? They're like, hey, wait a minute. Why are all these Indian people coming from? Why is huge amounts of Indian people showing up in North Texas, creating their own communities, and nobody even knows they're there? I didn't know about it. Just like I didn't know about this mosque that they were trying to put up in Texas, and it almost got done. It was like 3/4 of the way done before the governor said, wait a minute, what are you doing? No, you can't do this. This is illegal. What are you trying to do? What does Cuba just do? They did the same thing that they did in the boat lift in the 80s. They pardoned 2,000 inmates. Are you going to dump them into our country again like you did in 1980s? Going to do another Scarface? Remember the Cuban boat lift and all that? The Cuban, hey, we got all these people. Yeah, we'll bring them over. Oh, they're all criminals? Oh, shit. That was nice. You just dumped your whole criminal population into our society, just like you're doing now, right? Just with different countries. What do you think they're doing? The same thing. Somalia's dumping their criminals over here. All the countries are dumping out their prisons and just saying, get out of here. Get out of the country. You don't care where you go. Wouldn't that be great if we just dumped all of our people and say, hey, go to Canada? Canada wouldn't be too happy, right? Why? Well, because you just let 1 million prisoners, violent felons into my country who know how to do crimes and don't have many other skill sets. What do you think they're going to do? Fucking go work at McDonald's? Second American fighter jet crashed, right? They saved both pilots. Did you see how much effort they had to put and how much manpower just to save one human being? You know why they did that, right? Because if they caught that guy, you know what they were going to do to him, right? They were going to parade him around for weeks and months and years. Maybe hang him in the public square. Who knows, right? It's not going to look good, though. Bad publicity. They don't want that. They don't want another Iran. So they put SEALs in people's lives, and they put a huge amount of people in danger, right, to get one guy. This is incredible if you think about it. Not that we shouldn't go after him. I'm not saying abandon the guy. But did you see how much what if another one of those, copters had crashed or something else went wrong? You're talking about you could have a lot of other people dying, and that's happened where they've gone after, You see the movie Saving Private Ryan? Remember that? That was a real story, I believe, right? Was it? Yeah, I think it was, right? There was 4 brothers in the same family, all serving in World War II, which, you weren't supposed to do. In other words, if I think you had 1 or 2 of your sons there, that was enough. You didn't all of them didn't have to go, but they all were patriotic and decided to join up. And every single one of them, I believe, got killed except for the last one that was left, and they were trying to save him, right? Because they don't want to tell this mother, hey, all 4 of your sons are dead. That's bad press. They don't want that. Towards the end of World War II, people were not supporting the war anymore. They were done. We were almost out of money. We couldn't win the thing, right? We were like, what the hell do we do? How do we beat these guys? We're going to have to invade mainland Japan. That was looking like a freaking nightmare if we did that, right? They were talking that there might be 1 million casualties or 500,000 dead if we tried to invade Japan by land, right? Mainland Japan. That was going to be a bloodbath. Why do you think they nuked them? I didn't want to get involved in that. Second American fighter crashed. So we got both those out. But what was the thing that they learned? Well, the F-35 or the F-15 is vulnerable. It can be hit, right? They got missiles that could take our planes out. We weren't aware of that before. It was funny. People are like watching Joe Rogan and saying, "Oh, look, he's like so edgy. He's questioning Trump." Well, I was talking about this like 2 or 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago now, that Trump could be a Trojan horse because he hadn't done anything. He hadn't even dealt with the chemtrails. I mean, on a fundamental level, if you can't deal with the smallest thing, which is the problems we have are big, but not that chemtrails is a small thing, but if that's an agency doing it, you can't call over there and just terminate those people? Why don't you just fire the top 5 guys at DARPA? That's what I'd start. You're all fired. Now hand over all the fucking evidence of what you were doing with the chemtrails. I want to know the exact composition and why you're dumping it, right? Because what they're doing also is they're lowering the oxygen level on the planet. They're lowering the carbon level on the planet, right? Which is what plants need to survive. Carbon dioxide. Right? Why are they doing that? That's going to make it harder for human life to exist. Well, because they don't want human life to exist here. They want lizards to exist here. And lizards like it when it's warm and tropical or dry. One of the two, right? I think they like it more dry and warm and heat, right? Good Samaritan viciously beaten by man he stopped to help on the highway. This was like the weirdest thing, right? Because the guy pulls up. I'm not going to show the video, but the guy pulls up because he sees a car that looks as if it's crashed into the median on the left side of the highway. The guy's off the road on the grass. He's laying in the grass as if he's like injured or dead. And as soon as the guy gets out of pulls his car over to get out, this guy springs up like as if he was like hit with a bunch of adrenaline and just rushes the guy and starts beating the shit out of him. It's fucking insane. It looked like the guy was passed out dead. And this guy got beaten like, I don't know, in the head probably like 10 times. He couldn't defend himself. A lot of people can't. Some guy goes crazy on you. What you gonna do? You're either gonna react quick or you're not gonna react, and you're gonna get hurt. Because if you freeze, a lot of people freeze when they get beat up. Right? When someone starts to become violent to them, there's usually only 2 ways people react, or 3. You freeze, you run, or you fight back. Right? That's really all you can do. And freezing's the worst thing you could do because you just get the shit kicked out of you. You like can't do anything. Right? You're frozen in fear. I saw a woman get hit by a car like that once. She was running across the street to catch a light that it was changing, and I guess she was a little late, and this cabs would start to speed down Lexington back in the day, right? They timed the lights. So if you time the lights right, you never have to stop, but you got to keep a certain speed. And so the cabbies got used to doing that, right? You could ride Lexington all the way down from like the 60s all the way down into the 30s, man, on one light if you knew how to time it right. And you had your speed right. Anyway, they're coming down, and the woman could have got across, but she froze in fear, and the cab hit her, and she went like, I don't know, maybe 15 feet in the air. I never saw anything so... It was upsetting. Whew, that was a bad one. That was a bad one. You know, I've seen a bunch of people get hit by cars before in the city. It's a very dangerous place. I've been hit by a car. I've been hit by a bike. I've been run over a couple different times I've been bumped into by skaters before, like skateboarders that, didn't see you. It's super dangerous to ride a bike around here, especially. How many people are in the U.S. military? I was trying to find out. We have U.S. military had 2.81 million service members worldwide, of which 1.3 million were active duty. So that's Okay, they have over 2.8, but most the active duty troops, we only have 1.3 million. That's about the same as what Iran has, roughly. Roughly. Close, right? In other words, that's like a ground war you don't want to fuck around with. It's going to cause a lot of ground casualty deaths, right? And now with the drones, they can just send a bunch of drones with C4 in them, pieces of C4 in them, into your troops and just kill you wholesale, and never even endanger their troops at all. See, the war is changing. And plus, you could see that in the Ukraine war, you don't even know that that war is really happening. You just see a bunch of guys in a forest somewhere with some fucking drones and shit. You're not seeing, there's no reporters embedded with anybody down there. There's no real news that's showing actual events that are happening. You're just seeing a bunch of, yeah, Kyiv got hit with a few bombs and shit, but you're not seeing what the real cost of it is, right? Mackay Nordfor is arrested in Utah for attempted human trafficking of a drugged baby. Wrote about love for murder in his manifesto. Mackay McBride Nordfors, 22, who is staying with a sponsor family, was booked into Salt Lake County Jail. Let me tell you something about Salt Lake City, Utah. I've been there, man. And it's a weird vibe. That's all I can tell you about that place. A lot of Mormons out there, man. I don't know. I don't get along with those Mormon peeps. I'll tell you, I've been around some of them. And I get a weird vibe off them, you know. I was at a wedding years ago and some Mormons happened to be there. And I was in this group of people who were smoking some weed at the party. And we were these Mormons were acting real funny, man. Maybe it was the weed. I don't know. But there's something that I don't like about a lot of those people. There's something weird about them. They're very secretive, and they stay to their own people mostly. And you saw what was going on with all that stuff, right? With the sex parties with those Mormons. Well, there's more to that. There's a porn aspect to the Mormon stuff that they put out a lot of porn. Let's leave it there, right? They're doing stuff in the backdrop you don't know about. They got all kinds of money. Illegal immigrant parents of anchor baby siblings charged in the MacDill bomb plot arrested by ICE. So these are the anchor baby kid, right? He's not even supposed to be here. Just like a lot of these other people who are committing all these crimes, they're not supposed to be here. Doesn't that get you more and more angry? Like when that beautiful girl from the Ukrainian girl got stabbed by that guy. He's not going to even stand trial for that now. He's claiming he's insane. Illegal aliens charged in 75% of this year's murders in Fairfax County, Virginia. So what happens? 75% murder rate goes up, right? Of the murders were done by people that shouldn't even be there. So in other words, if we just get rid of these people, the murder rate will drop 75%. And that's pretty obvious who's causing the problem. It's people that are illegal aliens that are causing the problem. And you're importing them right into your cities. How long is it going to take until certain people start to just take care of it themselves? You're already starting to see it in parts of England where they're just so fed up. They're like, if we don't do something now. And I was saying that years ago. If these people don't make a fundamental move like what Germany's trying to do, it's going to be over. It's going to be over for you. Your society is going to be Islamified in another generation. There's already parts of England that when you go there, people are looking around saying, is this like Birmingham anymore? No. I think it was Birmingham. The guy's like, is this Birmingham? It used to be all mostly white. Now it's all mostly black and brown people, and whites are a minority here. What happened? Well, they cycled you right out, like I said they were going to do, and nobody did nothing about it. You never did anything about it. You kept putting in people that you thought were going to fix it, and they were the people still doing it, like Bojo, right? Remember Bojo? Oh, Bojo's going to fix it. No, he's not. Bojo fucked you just like the other guys did. And he fucked you probably worse. And they kept saying, oh yeah, we don't want these illegals here, but they kept bringing them in like crazy all through Europe when we were saying, don't do it, watch out, they're doing it to you, and nobody did anything about it. That was the plan, right? We wanted to be open, no borders. Well, no borders, it turned out to be a really bad idea. right? Because no borders means anybody can come into your country from anywhere, and if maybe they're not going to be the most desirable people that you want there. Oracle seeks thousands of foreign workers as they lay off 30,000 Americans. So you see what's happening? They're H-1B visaing you out of existence. They're bringing in more talented workers from over countries like Pakistan and India, where these guys already have a full degree, and then they come over here and have another full degree, so they got 2 degrees. And how do you compete against that? You probably don't even have one, some people. Or maybe you got just a bachelor's. So what? That's nothing. I used to see these people majoring in like English, or like they're majoring in like stuff, and I'm thinking, what are you going to do with that? Unless you're like a teacher or something. There's not much you could do with it. It's like you didn't really think that through too well, did you? I'm the same way. I majored in communications thinking it was going to be a wide-ranging field that I could get multiple jobs in, and I could never even get one. Here's vivid prowess on X. I'm starting to include some X.com postings that I see that I think are interested. Here's Hamas supporters in New York that had dog shit thrown on them from some of the buildings around the area, or from some people in the street. Did they deserve it? I wrote that twice, sorry. So you can see the people who, you know, these Hamas marches that they're trying to make in New York look like they're big. They're small. They're small. They're like the Antifa stuff. They're just people that are paid to do it. For the most part, it looks like to me. Here's Hamas getting dog shit thrown at them in New York City. They're throwing shit at us in the buildings, the people are saying. Oh yeah? Well, what are you going to do about it? You don't like it too much, huh? Well, guess what? You're not welcome in New York. They're throwing shit at us in the buildings, they're saying. People got umbrellas up. They got the Palestinian flags. Iranian flag. People are throwing bags of shit. They're throwing shit at from us from the buildings. Well, you don't like it, then go back to where you're from. I don't know what to tell you. Not everybody in New York likes Hamas marching around in the streets. We don't support Hamas here. Here's Liz Churchill on X.com. Britain swarm Keir Starmer screaming pedo protector and traitor right in his terrified face. Starmer is finished, they're saying now. This grooming gang enabling asshole sold out British children and flooded Britain with rapists. Now the people fucking hate him. Yeah, I mean, did you see how many pedophiles they've confronted? There's groups that are working in England right now that are tracking down some of these pedophiles. And a key way that they're doing it, which I didn't even think about, was that, you know, some of these people own like a business, right? They're like some Indian packy guy. Yeah, you got a little restaurant. Maybe you get the girl in there after school, right? Give them some free food or something. Maybe you drug it, right? Maybe they put some scopolamine in your food. Next thing you know, you're being raped. Or they get them comfortable in the restaurant. They get you, you know, then they trick you to go show up somewhere, right? That's what these people are doing. Here's Keir Starmer, somewhere in London, I guess, getting screamed at, calling a pedophile to his face. Let's listen to this. And these people look scared, dude. Okay, I think you get the picture, right? It's not looking too good for Keir. Keir's being called a pedophile, a traitor. And he is a traitor. He's a traitor and he's a pedophile as far as I'm concerned. So that was from Liz Churchill's X.com page. Britain swarm Keir Starmer screaming pedo protector. Yeah, you sold out the country, just like Bojo did, just like the other people that came before him did. They all were part of it, right? They were part of it. And we were talking about this all while it was happening. We were saying, this is what's going on. Be careful. They're flooding your country with military-age Muslim men, and nobody did anything about it. Just sat there and watched it happen. Now you're going to have to remove them by force. Keep an eye on Germany for how that happens, because that's going to be ugly. Here's Alex Stein, number 99, X.com page. Eric Swalwell is a pervert that needs to be exposed for his relationship with a Chinese spy named Fang Fang. You could watch Alex Stein get up in Swalwell's face saying, "Hey, didn't you sleep with Fang Fang?" And what can Swalwell say? No, he just has to get out of the scurry away real quick because everyone knows he did, right? And everyone knows that Hunter Biden was also sleeping with a Chinese spy that was put in there to... He had his own Chinese minder. They call that a minder. In other words, they're keeping an eye on you. They got you as an asset already. They're keeping that person next to you close, right, to make sure that you don't do anything that they don't want you to do or talk to anybody that they don't want you to talk to. Here's a X.com from Trisha Posner at X.com. New York City shocker, 50% of all hate crimes target Jews, who are just 10% of the city. Why did that all of a sudden go like crazy? And then under Mamdani, what they're trying to do is change the way incidents are reported as anti-Semitic now, so it doesn't look like there's so much anti-Semitism under his reign, because it doesn't appear, at least to me, that he likes the Jewish people too much. Watch NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch drop the numbers and Mayor Zoran Mamdani standing right next to her, stone-faced and emotionless. This is the same mayor who still refuses to repudiate globalize the intifada, quote-unquote. Jewish New Yorkers are being hunted in their own city while leadership looks the other way. That's true. What this guy's doing is allowing something to fester here in New York where he's not getting people arrested and charging them always with a hate crime. People are just attacking certain Jews in parts of Brooklyn, and that's not okay. It shouldn't be. Because if those people start to get attacked and they decide, hey, you know what? We're going to get groups of us together, and hey, we're going to start attacking you. How about that? That leads to gang violence, right? That's what formed the street gangs in the earlier part of this country's history. It was the same thing, right? I'm Italian and I got to walk through this area to get to school, and I'm getting the shit beat out of me by these Irish kids every day. Well, now I'm going to start hanging with my people, and we're going to make a group, and we're going to walk to school together, so that way, if I see you, I'm not so worried anymore because I got 7 guys with me who will beat the fuck out of you if you say something wrong. We don't want that, right? We don't want to return to the days of this. We need people to stop doing this, and we need groups of people to defend each other in the street and not allow it to happen. And it's only happening by one group of people. It's African Americans mostly who are doing it. People of black and brown skin. It's not whites, people attacking Jews for the most part, no. You've got to call it what it is, right? I don't have a problem saying that because that's the truth. You can go find the statistics that'll prove it's the truth. Here's Ayel Yacobis, X.com. Turkish member of parliament Hassan Bismet said Israel will suffer the wrath of Allah. He then immediately suffered a heart attack and died. I thought that was incredible. Talk about God works in mysterious ways, right? The Lord works, and you ever hear people say that? The Lord works in mysterious ways. That's true. I know because it's worked its mysterious ways on me at times. I've almost lost my life, had things happen I could not explain. Been saved when I should have died. Things like that. Gotten away from situations where I could have and should have probably gotten hurt and or killed. 2 U.S. helicopters hit in search and rescue efforts in Iran. So these guys were like, it almost turned into a clusterfuck because, if you are looking for a dude and then all of a sudden, let's say another helicopter had crashed, now you're talking about it's dominoing into something way worse because now that guy's life, you just killed a bunch of other people trying to save one guy, right? Sometimes you could end up killing a bunch of other people to save one guy's life. And then you start to ask the question, well, is it worth that? Because to the other guy's parents, maybe who were on that rescue mission who died, they're going to say maybe it wasn't, right? ICE arrests the Jordanian national in Wisconsin who has been accused of helping Hamas. The department said Salah Sarsour, who has lived in the U.S. for over 30 years, lied when he applied for a green card. which was granted under former President Bill Clinton in 1998. He was first admitted to the U.S. in 1993, so that's under Clinton. This guy's been here for 30 years and he should have never been here. Understand what that means? Every job this person had should have been somebody else's job. All the money he made should have been someone else's. He never should have been here. Now, if he goes ahead and kills somebody, well, what is that? You're affecting other people's lives in a major way by importing all these people, because what's happening is people are being killed who shouldn't be killed. People are being attacked and hurt who should have never been attacked and hurt. You're altering people's lives fundamentally in a negative way by doing what you're doing. There's nothing positive coming out of it. Nancy Mace. Pam Bondi still compelled to testify on Epstein. Bondi saw her public popularity plunge early in the Trump administration after she organized a botched PR stunt in which she distributed binders of largely public info on Epstein to influencers. That was all bullshit, right? That never got put out, all that info. And now you're not seeing anything about Epstein anymore. Isn't that crazy how that changed? How come all the pundits stopped going through the Epstein files and finding all that good dirt? What happened? That's just over? Now you're on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and we never get any justice. That's what people are saying. Where's the arrests? Where's all these pundits who were saying, oh yeah, they're all in Gitmo. Remember, they got tried already in Gitmo. You just never saw it. That makes no sense. Why would you do that? So we never see it? How do we know what happened then? Well, because you told us they got arrested? Doesn't mean anything. I want to see people swinging from a rope. And I want it to be crystal clear 4K, 4D, whatever. I want it crystal clear so I could see it. When they hung Saddam Hussein, it was all grainy. You could barely see his face. It was all dark and shit. No, I want to see it crystal clear. In real time. With people there from the press that I know. With pundits there who I know. With people live streaming that shit. So I know it has to be real. Because 5 people are live streaming it with that day's newspaper in their hands. That's how you prove it's real. And now you're talking about this woman, Nancy Guthrie's mom. You think she's still alive? She's been dead. You can't live like that without your medicine. That long? These people are stupid. You kidnapped an old woman who was on meds, you idiot. And you didn't take her meds. So what do you think was going to happen? She's going to live a full life for the rest of her days with you? Fucking moron. What the hell is going on anymore? I'm just so sick of it. I really feel like just canceling my internet. I'm not kidding. Shutting the whole fucking thing off. Shutting my phone off. And just disappearing, dude. Fuck it. Figure this shit out whenever the fuck you figure it out. I'm tired of giving my attention to it anymore. It's soul numbing is what this is. This whole thing is soul numbing. It numbs your soul out and kills your spirit, right? Watching this shit just go on and on and on and on and never with no end in sight. Right? And did you see those Artemis videos? That whole thing looks completely fucking fake. The photos are fake. I mean, how can you not see it? It's like they're skimming along. They're not skimming along the surface of the moon, are they? How are they getting these shots? With some old Nikon camera that's a film camera? Are you fucking kidding me? Give me a fucking break. Do some fucking glass out of a fucking some spacecraft that they're in. It looks fake. The whole thing's fake, is my guess. And I saw some things on photos that people had on, I don't know if they were fake photos, but it looked like a green screen and the astronauts are being held up by cables so they can look like they're floating and shit. That's what a lot of people were saying was they were doing the whole time because of the Van Allen belt. They can't escape because of the Van Allen belt. The radiation, right? They don't have a way to shield themselves. 74 NYCHA executives, which is New York City Housing Authority execs, boast $200,000 a year salaries plus. 74 of them are making $200,000 a year or more. That's a lot of money. right? That's millions of dollars in salary. Do we need 74 people making that, executives making that much? Probably not. Are some of those jobs redundant? Yeah, no question. This whole thing is so crooked. Just look at New York as a complete crooked mechanism, right? I mean, look at the entire country like that. Can't you see it? How do you think that organized crime gangs could exist for decades before they even realized they were organized crime gangs? Right? The Kaforva hearings in the 50s, they started talking about there's an organized mafia group that's in this country. Before that, they didn't even realize, or they weren't saying that there was, but they knew there was. They knew there was. In the 30s, especially during the Depression years, a lot of people started, some criminals became very famous for robbing banks and being like sort of Robin Hoods to the people, right? People like Bonnie and Clyde, you might remember the name. People like Pretty Boy Floyd, right? What was the other guy's name? Alvin Karpis, the Karpis gang. Was a family gang from, I think, Florida. There was some bank robber family from Florida. So, and you know, some of these guys were super smart about it, right? John Dillinger, right? You know, you saw the movie about Dillinger. He was a bank robber too, right? And he was incredibly smart in terms of getting out of certain situations that you didn't. I mean, he actually escaped a lockdown where he broke off a piece of wood from like the bed or the bed corner of the bed, and he carved it somehow into a makeshift pistol and managed to convince the guard that he had a pistol, and he got out of a local jail like that where he was being held. Now, I'm not saying these people were good people, right? Bonnie and Clyde killed, I think, 20 or more police officers and were hunted down themselves and killed in the end eventually by a group of like Texas Ranger type guys. But I'm just saying, a lot of this stuff, a lot of people existed like this because people were just fed up with the system and they didn't see any other way to, right? The government was taking their gold away. The government had gone bankrupt. Everybody's money was gone. And then once they took your gold away, what did they do? They said, hey, guess what? Now the gold price is $10 more than it was last week when you had the gold. We just made our gold worth $10 more an ounce, and you got shit, nothing, zero. You got a bunch of worthless paper. That's what you got. And you couldn't, if you held on to your gold, you could have, but you couldn't use it for a long, long time. Democrat Governor Maura Healey, Boston Mayor Michelle Wu were booed at the Red Sox home opener. Yeah, you should be booed. You turned, look at what you did to your city. Same thing in Philadelphia. Look at what they did there. They turned it into a drug haven, right? With all this fentanyl and all this crap. Trank and fentanyl, all that shit. Turned everybody into a bunch of zombies, right? Allowing huge drug supermarkets to exist inside cities like this. That never should have been allowed to happen. There won't be an Asian mayor of Boston after this for a long time. There might never be another Asian mayor of Boston again. There might never be another Asian mayor of Boston again after this. You think there's going to be another Muslim mayor of New York anytime soon after this? Probably never again, too. Same thing. After what he ends up doing. Mamdani ends up doing. Meet Bill de Bogota. Ex-New York City Mayor de Blasio visits Colombia with an alleged China-linked far-left group. What's this guy doing? We never trusted him in the beginning. His wife stole a whole lot of money when she was given access to run a certain agency that had $1 billion at its disposal, and they never found out what she did with that money. So he should have been thrown in jail. So should Adams have been thrown in jail. Those are both two corrupt mayors in a row who were real corrupt and never got caught. Here's an opinion piece from New York Post. Kathy Hochul's sleazy deal with the unions will make New York less affordable. New York is not hasn't been affordable since probably the 70s or the 80s, I'd say. Yeah. By then here's a great example. I went to the local place I usually go sometimes and I get a sandwich, right? So I go in, I got a ham and Swiss on a roll, which isn't a big sandwich, right? A bigger sandwich would have been like on Italian bread, right? You get like a whole hero, a big hero, what you call maybe in a sub, right? That's when you know you're not in New York. When people call a sandwich not a hero, but what is the other thing that they call it? A sub. Yeah, they call it a sub, right? Like a submarine, but a sub. Here in New York, we just call it a sandwich. So I got a ham and Swiss on a roll, mayo, lettuce, salt, and pepper, right? Not a complex sandwich with a lot of toppings or nothing. $12. I think the guy said 13 or 12. I can't remember. I was in such. I said, what? Like, damn, dude. That's more than fucking Subway. Like, why are you how is it? And it's not that big of a sandwich. You're not even giving me, I mean, you're giving me more cold cuts than Subway does, that's for sure. But Subway only gives you like two cold cuts, right, or whatever. The bread is way better. That's why I go there, because they got the fresh rolls from the bakery, from Brooklyn bakeries. That's the best rolls you can get in New York. Nice Kaiser roll. Here's an opinion piece. So, Kathy Hochul is not a good politician. She was somebody that was, in another controlled asset like Cuomo. And she should have never been given, put in the last time, but, our entire system is corrupt here. Our voting system is corrupt. We know that. Did you know that the niece and the grandniece of the slain notorious Iranian General Soleimani, who were arrested by ICE, they were living in the United States? Not just his niece, but his grandniece also. And they apparently were living like extravagantly nice lives. It looked like to me. They're living better than I am. One of them's living in Cali. She looks like she got a nice house. Howard Lutnick is now saying he did not have any relationship with Epstein. But you're on his island. What do you mean? You must have known him somewhat. What, he just invited you out of the blue? You never met and talked to him or nothing? He just said, hey, come on down? During a Senate Appropriations Committee hearing on February the 10th of 2026, Senator Chris Van Hollen, a Democrat from Maryland, pressed Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick on his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, pointing to a 2012 trip in which Lutnick and his family attended a lunch on Epstein's private island. Remember, he used to get the cruise ships used to go to Epstein Island, remember? The Disney ship. They used to have a thing where they'd go to Epstein Island with the kids. It was a kids thing, remember? So he had something hooked up with some of the cruise lines that they would come to Epstein Island and like for a day thing, right? An excursion. It wouldn't be the whole ship would pull up there, right? Because he doesn't have the facility to dock that ship, but they would come in a smaller boat. They could come. What was going on with that? Why was certain cruises going to Epstein Island for? And we never found out how many of those cruises did go there. Did anybody disappear on those cruises? Did they ever explore around Epstein Island for human bones in the ocean? That's the other thing. Because there was allegations he was just chucking human remains out through those doors on the side of the island right into the ocean. Where the ocean has a great way of cleaning things up, you chuck in there that are edible, right? Or any kind of stuff like that. Or just, you're never going to find it again. So all the sharks all over the place. Congress demands the Department of War release 46 secret UFO videos. You're going to see some weird fucking shit. So I wrote, show all secret craft you have reverse engineered as well. We need to see a live alien on live TV. We can't just see some grainy old video. Well, I've seen that grainy video of like the alien and they're talking to him and stuff. I get it, but we need more than that. We need this stuff in like real time, right? High definition video. In real time, where you could prove what day it is with someone's holding the newspaper, someone's there. Or prance one of them out bring them to the White House. A peaceful alien that looks nothing like us. Pick one of the aliens that you know that's here that looks like the least human one you could find, right? And show that one. There was rumors that they were about to do that out in California, and they burnt that whole town down to kill those aliens that were there. I forgot the name of that town. Was it like Hope or something? What was that? No, it wasn't Hope. That's Arkansas. It was some name of a town out there, and they were saying that there were some aliens that were living there that they were going to That's why they burnt it down. We never found out if that was true or not. We need to see a real alien on live television. We need something real. We can't just look at some grainy old bullshit. No one's going to buy that. And why is it taking so long for you to do this stuff? You should have done this. I don't know how many times I said, why didn't Trump do that in his first term? Excuse me. Woke protester ripped for missing joke on gays of Hormuz. That was funny, man. That was classic stuff. Now that guy's not going to be able to do that as much because a lot more people know who he is. He's got that classic way. He's sort of not, he's off-putting. He sort of looks like he's a liberal, but the way he's talking to you, it makes sense, right? And then you start to think about, wait, what? The gays of Hormuz? What do you... It's like people aren't even capable of independent thought anymore. And that woman was a professor. You can really make an argument that the generations that followed Generation X became increasingly dumber. That's true. To the point where now, with these millennials who are out now, some of them are incredibly gifted and smart, and then some of them are just incredibly stupid. Like the majority of them, I think, are, unfortunately. And that's not their fault. It's because of the schools, lower attention spans, right? All this social media being inundated is, what does it do? Well, it's overload. It's data overload, right? Like one of my followers, that's his name, data overload. It's true. You can be overloaded with data, with stimuli. That's what happens to me a lot in New York. I just get overloaded and fried with New York. There's just too many fucking people. There's too much going on. It's too much data. It's too loud. It's hard to relax here. It's one of the hardest places you could ever find to chill out and relax. Desperate search for the missing pilot of the F-15E jet down by Iran stretches into the second day. So this guy managed to that's what they call it, evasion and evasion protocols, right? You ever seen the movie what's that movie called? Behind Enemy Lines, right? With Owen Wilson, horrible actor, but there was a movie like that too, right? It was in Croatia or I don't know, it was Bosnia. He gets shot down behind enemy lines. You think they'd have a better kit that they give the pilots, right? They must give you more than just, you should have a bunch of stuff. I mean, should have some kind of a rucksack, a tent, a knife, a gun, a bunch of ammo, maybe some kind of folding long rifle you should be able to give these guys too. Some superior firepower. I wouldn't want to be running around with a bunch of dudes after me with just a 9mm pistol. Not much else. The odds are you're not going to make it. This guy was smart. He went into the mountains and shit. He went into some of the most hostile territory you could find, and yeah, you want to get above your people, right? It's better to be above where the people you're fighting someone from below you than above you, right? And if you train correctly, you can evade the enemy until you can establish comms with your people and hopefully get yourself to a safe extraction point. And that's exactly what they did. They just had to risk, I don't know, dozens of other people's lives to do it and millions of dollars in equipment to do it, but they did it, right? Epstein and billionaire shrink pal emailed about disguises in plastic surgery for escaping the law, document show. I thought this was interesting. Because this guy's got, remember I did that one dig, Epstein's other name, right? Epstein had another name. I think it's Robert Marius. Marius was the last name on that passport. And it was he has a Israeli passport, right? As well as, I think he had 3 passports, if not more. Plus, I think he had, 40 loose diamonds in the safe, something like that, plus cash. So if you have 40 loose diamonds, that means you could take those. They were probably anywhere from, 2 to 5 carats and more. Who knows what he had, right? But that's a way where I could walk into any country on earth or overseas with those diamonds and just cash those in for whatever the currency is, or gold, or whatever I want, right? It's a way to move around with a lot of money in a very light way, right? It's easier than You know, if I got 50 ounces of gold, it's going to be heavy. I can't run all over the world with that, right? So these guys were, and this guy owns his own island, by the way, also. An email between Jeffrey Epstein and a billionaire shrink pal runs through options for avoiding trouble with the law, including steps such as wearing disguises or undergoing plastic surgery. They could have easily got Epstein out, just put another silicone mask on him, right? And those are easy enough to put on. A May 1st, 2009 email from his longtime friend and confidant, Gramercy Park psychiatrist Dr. Henry Jarecki, titled, "What if I get caught?" quote unquote, contains a long list of items essential to escape law enforcement. The email fired off by an assistant purportedly was sent because the doctor who made his money trading commodities was interested in writing a book on the topic. Dr. Jarecki asked me to send you the following notes along with this statement. I'm thinking of writing a new book and I need a co-author. That's an interesting way to just be talking about something that you normally shouldn't be talking about, right? Where it looks like you're in fact colluding with somebody. The note lays out a 7-point plan to live on the lam, starting with items like don't use credit cards and computer security for trouble avoidance, and ends with mentions of going and hiding or overseas. One of the most eyebrow-raising sections in the email is titled Post-Trouble and lists disguises, plastic surgeon, and documents generation, birth certificate, driver's license. It also states gather evidence on veracity and character of the victims and prosecution witnesses, private detectives, and internet. Another point lists the importance of multiple passports. You ever notice some of these guys, they got all this money, they can't afford to even work out in the gym. Right? They can't afford to keep their body in shape. They have all the money in the world and they look like a fat sack of crap like this, right? You just think, why wouldn't you want to take care of yourself and live as long as you could, right? If I had billions of dollars, I'd be working out a lot, right? Because I want to take care of myself. I want to live as long as I can with all this money. I don't want to lose years because I eat too much. Epstein's known to have used a fake Austrian passport to travel to the UK, France, and Saudi Arabia between 1982 and 1983. Oh, this is the one. It's Robert Marius. What country is this from? Denmark? What does it say? Saudi Arabian passport? Looks like he had a Saudi passport, which is obviously not Saudi, right? So who is this freaking guy? Right? Who is he really? Who is he really working for? Boozy homeless honeymooners have sex and defecate in the street in Madani's old neighborhood and the cops can't stop them. Yeah, these are some people just living on a sidewalk. You know? And he gets up in the morning to take his morning constitutional in a pizza box. While people are walking by going on there doing their day, right? Nobody removes this guy. Imagine that guy lives outside your house. Or where you live. Are you going to be okay with that? No, right? This guy has 2 islands in the Caribbean, Epstein's friend. Not one, he has 2 other islands. So this is another, now you're seeing a network that could exist where, hey, if you have 2 islands and Epstein has 2 islands, he's about to have 2, and Branson's over here, he has an island, and, then we got, maybe. They're saying Joe Biden owned Water Island, but that wasn't true. He owned a parcel on Water Island, but as far as I looked into it, either if he does own it, he owns it via some secretive corporation he may, or LLC he may have created, but I couldn't find any information that he owned the entire Water Island that's down there. So these people are allowed to take a dump in the street, live on the sidewalk, cause a problem in the neighborhood and nobody does anything. See, there used to be that people would do something about it. If you get a bunch of people harassing the guy, telling him get out of here, throwing his stuff into the street, somebody would come and do something about it. Or somebody would call the cops and they'd do something about it. Trump gave Iran 48 hours to open up the Straits of Hormuz. So that was about to that timeline was about to come up, and then they apparently signed, but it doesn't make any sense because he's saying he's talking to some people, but they're not the people that are in charge. apparently. But he's talking to somebody that he's not telling us who he's even talking to, right? And that apparently the sun is not even in command anymore. We don't even know who's in command over there, or if anybody is in command. The Artemis 2 is now closer to the moon than Earth the other day. Seems like it's... Why did it take it so long to get to the moon? Oh, and here's how you know that the original moon landing was fake. Remember when they called... Remember when the president called them up on the moon? Or like right near the moon when it's 1969? How do you think they got that phone call to go through so clearly? In 1969. And it's right there, right to the second. There's no delay in the phone in his voice. That's how you know it's fake. Because in 1969 we couldn't barely our troops couldn't even, in Vietnam had problems talking to each other. You telling me that we're talking to people on the moon back then? I don't think so. I don't think so, dude. Sorry, that doesn't compute. That's how you know we were never on the moon. Besides the fact that the flag's moving around and it shouldn't be moving. If it's if you're in space, there's no breeze, right? And there's winds that go through that are generated by something. But in other words, if I'm in a zero gravity environment, space where there's no atmosphere, there shouldn't be a breeze. If I put the flag up, it should stay the same, right? Not moving. And then you get people saying, well, the aliens were there when we got there. We were told to leave and never go back. Then if that's true, where's all the photos of it? He never showed any of the photos. So I think the whole moon thing is fake. Wisconsin House race heats up amid calls for top Dem challenger to be disqualified over China ties. Wisconsin's 3rd congressional district represents a rural area running from the Minnesota and Iowa borders to Eau Claire and a strip that ends between Wausau and Appleton. Just make sure I'm still recording. Okay, about an hour in. I'm going to have to get some coffee soon. Down to the dregs. Myanmar's junta leader Min Aung Hlaing is elected president. So if you remember, Myanmar was the first country, I think, to do a coup, and they still haven't. They're still not really done with their issues, right? They've finally got maybe someone in the junta in there. Aung San Suu Kyi has long been deposed and being held as a political prisoner, which is what should happen. They never really got a handle on the Iron Triangle drug problem, though, right? And that's going to take a long time. Maybe this new junta leader will be able to fix the country once and for all. I don't know, though. That's a problem. It's a country that has a lot of problems, right? This used to be what's known as Burma, which has a long history. Trump, J.D. Vance will be the new fraud czar. Focus on the blue states. Okay. Sounds good. A FEMA official claimed he was teleported to a Waffle House. I'm going to have to take a break now, friends, to get that coffee. I hope you're well, working out, stretching. Excuse me. Staying in your center space. My name is Ash. I'll be right back in just a moment. I'll get this coffee and you can do some sit-ups, push-ups, and burpees, and I'll be right back. Thanks, friends. Okay, friends, I'm back. Thanks for that break. I needed that. So the FEMA official claimed he got teleported. I guess that's, it could be worse, right? You could get teleported into the middle of the Amazon jungle or the Gobi Desert or somewhere where you're in deep trouble, right? I mean, at least this guy got teleported to the Waffle House. He could have some chicken, some fried chicken and waffles, whatever, right? Some eggs, whatever. You got food. You got coffee. It's not the end of the world, right? But I remember years ago when I was doing a lot of my research, coming across people that claimed that there were natural portals that existed in the United States and other parts of the world, that if you walked through this portal that was invisible in this area, you would come out some other place. There's one portal that allegedly exists in the United States that is somewhere back east, and if you go through this portal, you come out on some hillside in California somewhere. So if there's natural portals like this that exist, we don't really need airlines, do we? No. We haven't needed airlines for a long ass time, probably. We have reverse engineered UFO craft that we never used. Why don't we engineer any of this and use it? Well, because then you got to tell all the airlines that you're out of business. All your stock is worthless. All the pension funds that own your stock are worthless. So you never dealt with the stock exchanges that are fake. Trump in his first term, another thing he didn't do is deal with that. He didn't want it to crash on his watch, but now it's got to crash on his watch. It didn't crash under Biden's watch, which I thought for sure they would have made it crash under Biden's watch. But they didn't. Here's the No Kings protest footage if you want to watch it. The gays of Hormuz. Free the gays of Hormuz. Free them now. Free them. Free them now. I think we need to watch this. This should be in the historical record for how stupid we are and gullible as a society.
Isn't it a little bit homophobic that we're so focused on the Straits of Hormuz and not the gays of Hormuz?
Yes, I agree. Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Why do you think they're willing to leave the gays of Hormuz behind?
I think it's just historically, gays have always been very discriminated against, which is wrong on so many levels.
Even in war.
Yeah, even in war, and it just...
This guy's classically good at what he does, right? Because he makes it sound so good, right? The gays of Hormuz. I'm all for freeing the gays of Hormuz. Where are they from again? I don't remember seeing any gay bars in Hormuz.
Takes, I think, more... more reform in government, obviously, and then also educating society.
I just feel like if we're gonna go in there, we can't leave the gay people behind. I don't think we should go in there at all, but if we're going to...
This guy's sign says F-U-C-K fascists, but it should say fascists, S, right? Instead he has some stupid face. I mean, that's the best sign you could come up with. How about fuck fascism?
The gays of Hormuz, we could turn it into Fire Island.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. So we are here with the communists who don't support the Democrats either. We're going to find out the important questions about communism.
Yeah, so everybody comes out.
The working class is organized against...
Everybody comes out for the gays of Hormuz in New York. It doesn't matter. Hey, we're communists. We're going to support the gays of Hormuz also. We'll come out for their support. It's like this hodgepodge when you go to these blue city, and I live in one, so I know, protests. I haven't gone to any protests since 2003 when I was in the anti-war protest for when we were going into the Iraq War and Afghanistan. There was these massive world protests. The biggest protest I think I'd ever seen in New York was that one. That day, I have a picture of it actually, of me in the crowd with my cousin. It's just insane. Like a bus is just stopped in the middle of like 2nd or 3rd, 1st Avenue, like, no traffic, just people as far as the eye could see. That's a feeling of power when you're like in the front of like a 500,000 group of people. That's power. I can imagine what it must have felt like as the Mongols rolled through different countries, just completely destroying people's whole world in just a day. Your whole world could just be different in a day back then. Right, one day you wake up, everything was nice and quiet, right? Birds are chirping, the fields are nice and perfect. Everything's planted, and next thing you know, over the horizon that just gets blackened, and all these dudes show up. And next thing you know, your life is never going to be the same again. In fact, your death clock just started, and you don't even know it. Free the gays of Hormuz, right? I think we're at the point where we are at the height of the the theater of the absurd, which was what I named my original channel, was Theater of the Absurd, right? My original YouTube station, the name of it was Theater of the Absurd for that reason. And I got that actually from, I think it was the Anne Rice vampire book. I heard that term when I read it years ago. The Theater of the Absurd, right? You're seeing things that just don't make fundamentally logical sense happening over and over again. Hey, Trump got in. Great, we're going to get these guys. Hey, where's the energy? Where's the free energy? Where's this? Where's that? Why haven't the chemtrails stopped? Where's my banking system? Where's my Nasara Jasara? Where's my money that you should have given me back? That you stole when you turned me into an asset? When you were issuing 30-year bonds against my name year after year with guaranteed interest to the people who held those bonds. Who holds the 30-year bonds? That's what we need to find out. Who is holding the 30-year bonds that you're issuing against my straw man name? You must be able to, through whoever's buying those, trace back to who it's buying. And I bet you anything, it's big banks. The same fuckers that are making sure that your gold and silver doesn't go up in price the way it should over the last decade, so that you stay poor, right? Why did they do that? Well, for two reasons. They can make a lot of money keeping it, knowing what it's going to do, and two, it makes it so that you stay in the U.S. dollar, which is really worthless, is where they want you to have all your money, instead of in silver and gold, or platinum, or palladium, or whatever, right? Other stuff that's worth a lot. You could get jade. You could buy jade. You could buy diamonds. You could buy all kinds of. There's all different kinds of stones that are valuable. There's emeralds and rubies that are valuable, right? You have to know what's valuable, right? Why do you think Epstein had 45 loose diamonds in a sack in his safe? Because it's valuable. It's another way to store your wealth where it's not in cash. And it's easily transportable and easily hidden. He could shove that thing up his ass or something, right? Or hide it in somewhere and go to another country where they're not going to even know you have those assets. If you came into a certain country with $5 million in cash, they're going to know you have the money. Like, for instance, in the United States, you can only bring, I think, $10,000 in cash into the country, or leave with $10,000. Otherwise, it's taxed. In Thailand, that number, I think, is $20,000. So, in other words, if you want to go to Thailand and go to Pattaya or wherever, Pattaya, and have a good time in the bars and spend all kinds of crazy money and go crazy smoking all kinds of weed, right? They also legalized marijuana in Thailand. They're not stupid. So they're making double the money now, right? We're doing a sex tourism trade, and we got free legalized weed. And it's a place where it's super easy to grow good weed. In Thailand, yeah, some of the best weed gets grown there. The whole setup is made to grow good weed in that country. It's got all the things you need, right? The weather, a lot of rain, humid. White House hits out a deranged liberal conspiracy theory claiming Trump's in the hospital. So there was a rumor that Trump was in the hospital, and Kimberly Gogan was also talking about that, and we're not sure what happened. Maybe the clones are breaking down, right? Because there was a huge Schumann resonance blast the other day that rocked my ass, and a lot of other people too, I'm assuming. I woke up in the middle of the night like, what the hell was that, man? And there's been a lot of energy coming in still. So if you think about how much Schumann resonance energy has come in the last 5 years, it's insane. We had fallen to such a level of darkness that I didn't even realize how far the Earth's vibration had fallen real far. Like lower 3D, right? Way down in the hole, man. No wonder why, for so many years, I was in such a horrific state of depression that lasted for me for decades until I could get out of it. I couldn't find my way out of that darkness, man. I tried everything I could, short of the drugs that they wanted me to go on, which I knew weren't going to work. I finally understood that I had to go inside, right, to come back outside, and then go back inside again. Right, and fix myself again, and then come back out. You can go back inside and then come back outside once you heal yourself, right? In other words, I've cut the energetic ties to the situations in my life that I'm tied to energetically, whether it's I was abused or hurt by a friend or whatever, right? We all have instances where we were hurt by someone, by something, by a person we thought we could trust, a bad relationship, whatever it is. Just cut the energetic tie that binds you to that. Forgive all the people involved and just send love to them, right? Because once you do that, you free yourself from the bind of that energy. Woke New York City mayor blames guns, not criminals, for a brutal killing of a baby girl. So these guys were riding right. They were trying to kill this guy who was walking around, trying to get his life turned around with his wife or his girlfriend and his baby. And they missed him and somehow hit the bullet went into the stroller and killed his infant daughter. So the woman's walking around. I guess they didn't hear the shot or whatever. They didn't know the baby had been hit until they walked into some store and she checked on the baby right then and saw that it was unconscious. And then the baby ended up dying, unfortunately. So this happens all the time in New York. People are walking around and these kids are shooting, having a gun thing like a block away. And those bullets have to go somewhere, right? You're not in the middle of the fucking forest out here. You have people shooting rounds off like it's, like a firing range, and the bullet's got to go somewhere, right? I don't know how many instances I've heard of somebody walking around gets shot and hit by a bullet that was, from some other thing. So then we ended up 3 days ago, we rescued the crew member, right, the second guy, in a daring mission. They were fighting dudes apparently they're like fighting dudes in the mountains all the way that are trying to get this guy, killing them wholesale just so this guy could get to the extraction point, which he did. Trump tells Iran, open the effing strait, you crazy bastards, as he warns of new strikes and says, praise Allah. That angered a lot of people with that particular message, right? Because he's using, their God, right? The Muslim God. Why are you saying praise Allah for? Why is Tucker Carlson and people like this all of a sudden talking about we have to be more, understanding and this and that of this religion? And now you're seeing in England they don't want dogs there anymore, right? If I was a real Brit, I would adopt it. Every real Brit who's there, who wants their country back, adopt 2 dogs. That's what I do. Bigger the better. More vicious the better. And start walking those fuckers around every fucking place they are. Because they hate dogs, dude. Best off if you can get like a pit bull would be perfect. Want to clear a street real quick? Have yourself a pit bull. If you're a young lady, you're worried about these guys bothering you, get yourself a pit bull. Or a large dog like that. Watch how these guys will leave you alone real quick. So Trump needs the strait open. It's costing a lot of problems. And a lot of people are saying, well, now all these pundits, they're saying another scare event. These people are the biggest fearmongers I've ever seen. Now they're saying, oh, it's going to be a cataclysmic event is coming, right? You see how they keep saying that? Where are you getting this information from? From who? How do you know that's going to happen? How do you know that? Can you see the future? Are you going ahead in time? Are you trying to scare everybody again? Is that what you've been told to do? Because it seemed like they all went off on the same tangent. EBS any day. The same bullshit that they've been plugging for years, right? How many of these pundits are saying EBS every other day? Every other week they're saying. And nobody's calling these guys out on it? And if you do, you get attacked, right? I don't think anybody's really watching these people that much. Because when I go to Nino Rodriguez's page, like on Rumble, he doesn't have that many followers. So maybe it looks like he has a lot of followers on his website. Maybe he's making some money and shit, but I don't think he's got nearly the following that he... But it's crazy. Like, I see these people like Asmongold and who talking about like political stuff, and they got millions of followers, and they're not saying anything that's... No, I'm saying stuff that's way more interesting and on point than they are. And my show's getting like maybe 70 people watching it. 80 people on Rumble. That's what it seems like is watching the show now. When I have thousands of followers. So it just doesn't make any sense. Millions of people are watching morons play games and do stupid shit like that. They're not even interested in what's going on. That's the problem. They're more interested in watching some guy play a game than they are in what's going on in the actual world around them. Or the fake world. Daughter of top Iranian official ousted from Emory University after outcry. So another Iranian official's, family members living the good life over here. Why aren't these people living in Iran? Why are your family members all over here? If you hate the United States so much, why did you allow your family members to come? We have many Iranian hostages here we could take. Of course, I'm kidding, but why are so many top military officials' families living in the U.S.? I mean, if I'm at war with Iran and I have your granddaughter here and your daughter, I'm definitely going to hold them as a prisoner and let you know that I have them. That just makes sense, right? Most times in the old days, I wouldn't have my family members living in a country that I'm about to attack. I'd make sure you got out first. No, not this one. They just say, go ahead, stay there. Stay in the U.S. Give us intel. Right, I got a spy now in the country. Secret link between Eric Swalwell, his billionaire pal, and a penthouse pet accused of honey trapping rich old men. Yeah, that's what a lot of these women do. And now you got these OnlyFans models and stuff. Look at Kristi Noem's husband. He was giving all this money to some OnlyFans model who was like a Barbie type woman who had, huge breast implants, because that's what he was into. He wanted to have huge boobs. There's many men who are into large boobs. I used to have a friend. It was like he dated the same exact woman every single time. He never varied. She had to be blonde and she had to be D cups. Otherwise, you're not in the running. It's that simple. Blonde and D cups, or don't even bother. I said, wow, man, do you realize like how many women you're like just not even considering that could be completely gorgeous? I mean, look, remember Catherine Zeta-Jones, how pretty she used to be? She was dark-haired, but she was gorgeous. Why would you discount dark-haired women? I don't do it that way. I like all kinds of women. Hey, blondes with big breasts, great. I love you too. You're amazing, right? I'm all for it. But I like all kinds of different body types and women and colors, and why not? Why would you limit yourself, right? I want to have the widest amount of choice as possible, not the smallest amount. Homeless found living inside the bridge pillars over the LA River in latest disturbing discovery. These guys are inside the bridge. They're in the pillars, dude, which is not a safe place to live. You can't do that in New York. It'd just be too fucking cold. You'd freeze your ass off, right? You're trying to live inside the Brooklyn Bridge or something. I wouldn't want to do that. White House calls reports of Gabbard's impending ouster fake news. Yeah, all these other people were saying, Gabbard's on the way out, but I don't see that happening. Gabbard's psyops, dude. They got their claws deep inside Trump's administration, these people. I'm assuming that whoever the real Trump was doesn't exist anymore, if he actually was ever real. You're not doing any of the stuff you were supposed to be doing, which means I'm assuming you're with the Black Sun people. The Nazis. The Nazi group is who's running him, unfortunately. The Khazars, whoever you want to call them. I call them the Black Sun group because they're beyond the Khazars. Certain pundits are alleging that Tulsi Gabbard has also been fired from her position. At this time, there's no official confirmation of that. So I don't know where these people... the Wano Saban types are starting to lose a lot of credibility, right? Why? Well, because they keep saying the same thing's going to happen and it never happens. They've been crying wolf too much. And if you go on before it's news and these sites like that where a lot of these pundits are, they talk about the same crap over and over and it never happens. Right? The Q plan, this and that and all this shit. And then you're like, well, where's the arrest? Well, where's all the people getting arrested? I see the Clintons are still free. They're getting older. What are you going to do? One day you're going to wake up and, Bill Clinton died. Oh, shit. Oh, well. We didn't get him. We waited too long. Oh, Hillary Clinton's dead? Oh, shit. They're getting old, right? Look at Obama's even getting old. And everyone's saying, well, wait a minute. Why'd you give all this money to Iran? We all know why you did it. We were watching you do it when you did it. Nobody could figure it out then. Trump gets his answer from Iran as huge banner is put up in Tehran saying the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed. It looks like the deal's off. I mean, Israel went ahead and attacked parts of other countries after that went off. The ceasefire was in place, and I don't think it's even there anymore. Because they're saying that they're not going to open the straits. They still haven't opened it fully. Shocking discovery of secret China-linked biolabs housing vials of COVID, HIV, and Ebola. Amid fears America's a sitting duck. Yeah, they found that place in California. Remember, the guy said we're doing an inspection of the building or something. Building inspector said, why is there a garden hose going into the building? That's odd. Like from an outside water source is going into the building via like a garden hose, which is not normal plumbing, right? You would, if you have an outside, If you're hooked up to outside plumbing, they'd be piping, right? It wouldn't be like a garden hose going through a hole in the wall, which he thought was weird. So when he went inside, he realized something's going on in this building. There's refrigeration in here, and like it doesn't look like anything's going on in this building. So it was a building that almost looked like it was like vacant. It was made to look that way, but actually people were working in there, and there were refrigerators filled with stuff. If that turns out to be a China-based lab, that's like an international incident. That's like a declaration of war. You've been caught inside my country doing what now? Plus, we've caught some of your people trying to smuggle biological material out of the United States and into the United States multiple times. We've caught you hacking our infrastructure multiple times, stealing our intellectual property multiple times. You've destabilized our government multiple times, our economy. You're buying up our land near our military bases. You may or may not have spy balloons over our country. I mean, how many more instances do I have to give you? And now you may have set up secret biolabs in my country that has level 4 biolab stuff in it, like HIV and COVID and Ebola. I'd kick every Chinese national out of this country immediately, first off. And then start looking into every single Chinese person who's in this country very, very closely, because obviously a lot of them shouldn't be here. And, you're talking about really, if you look at how many illegal Chinese are here, and plus just illegal aliens in general, I think it's probably more like 50 to 100 million. So you have a country that's over 300 million people, but that should probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 to 250 million. That's a big difference. And there would be a plethora of work and jobs if all these illegal aliens were gone from here, and people who shouldn't be here were not here. There'd be way less crime and death, and all kinds of good stuff would happen if we could do that, right? Donald Trump's spokesman forced to deny U.S. president death in hospital room. So I'm not sure what's going on. Obviously, there's fake Trumps walking around, and I don't know how long that's going to be allowed to go on. I said as long as that's allowed to keep going on with nobody saying anything about it, is a problem, right? Because if even the mainstream news, who's anti-Trump, should be all over it, and somehow they're not, which makes you understand that they're playing along. Inside secret SoCal lives of niece, grandniece of Iranian General Soleimani before they were arrested by ICE. I wrote, how long did the Trump administration know about this? You must have known about this in your first term, where his family was. Why wasn't she arrested years earlier or deported in your first term? Why would you let these people live here all that time? Long Islanders struggle as utility bills surge 20%. People are going to start to do their own stuff soon, right? They're going to say, hey, wait a minute, I saw this guy online do the 2-magnet thing with the light bulb. How can I do that? All I need is a few of those in my house, and I got free lighting all over my house, right? That's a big fucking deal. And if I could make something like that, but like bigger, then I could run maybe the whole house on it, right? All I got to do is make that stuff a little, like 4 times larger, or the whole array, right? And then I could run maybe my whole house on that. You see how easy that is? Same thing with like the guy who created the thing that you put in your car so you can get 100 miles a gallon, right? They killed him because they didn't want that. They didn't want truckers getting 100 miles a gallon diesel or 150 miles a gallon diesel. They don't want that, dude. Why? Well, because I could drive across country on 2 tanks of gas. That's why. They don't want that, man. Kidding me? They don't want a bus to only have to stop twice for gas to go from LA to New York. They don't want that. And they realize if I could make the gasoline into a vapor, it expands. I could put this special thing and this carburetor into this special cell into my car and replaces like the carburetor or whatever, and my car could become more economical. We don't want that. Just like they don't want you to have Tesla's free energy. They don't want you to be able to beam energy wherever you need it. They don't want that. They want you to have to use oil and gas and coal and nuclear. Humiliating. Pfizer cancels its COVID vaccine trial for lack of interest as global scrutiny mounts. Vaccine makers' critics hope for new attorney general to reverse Pam Bondi's hostility to clinical trial whistleblowers lawsuit alleging fraudulent data used to get emergency approval. That's what you did. And you paid doctors to give people the, right? Remember when all those people's kidneys were failing and stuff? And they're like, how come everyone's like kidneys are failing? It's because you're giving them certain things that are making them fail. I forgot what that treatment was they were doing. And then they intubate you as soon as possible. You can't speak. And then they kill you. I know, my father was murdered in the hospital as well by these scum. All they had to do was intubate him properly, and they couldn't do that. They ripped his throat apart. They ripped his throat open. That's what happens when you don't know how to fucking intubate somebody, and you do it wrong. You kill them. And on top of that, the cause of death was right there on the death certificate, and then his wife wanted to sue the hospital, and the lawyer said, yeah, you don't have much of a case. He was kind of old and sick. So what? You still killed him. You killed the fucking guy. What do you mean? What does my age have anything to do with it? You didn't properly intubate me, and it caused damage to my trachea, which didn't heal right, and I died because of that. You telling me I can't sue the hospital for that? So you got away with murder, literally. Megyn Kelly labels Tiger Woods a douche for calling Trump during the DUI bus. Yeah, you notice he was calling Trump right away, hoping that maybe it would go away. But you see how many cops showed up to that thing? There was like 6 cop cars there. Every cop in the whole area was there. Too late now, man. And then he doesn't want to give he doesn't, did he breathalyze? Did he blow? Or he didn't want to give a urine sample because he's dirty for, he's probably taking whatever pain meds he's on. When you break your leg as bad as he did, you're going to be in pain the rest of your life. Trust me on that. I broke my leg, I know. I'm in pain the rest of my life. Of varying times. And he broke his leg way worse than I did. Tiger called Trump. Now, I've heard that he was given an ultimatum, basically like, you fuck up one more time and you can't date her anymore. That's why he went straight to the rehab, you notice, right? He's like in an overseas rehab right now, apparently. Or they're changing out his clone or something, whatever. There was allegations. His father was in PSYOPs, Tiger Woods' dad. And there was allegations years ago that he had played some of those golf tournaments in a state of where he was hypnotized, basically. And the father had done some kind of deep hypnosis to him where he could put him into a suggestive hypnotic state. Let's say the father did that to him and all he has to do is say his code word. Well, he could be playing some sick golf in that state. Because you don't have any of the other... You're not thinking... Like, if you're actually like that, in your hypnotized state, you're not having any fear of anything. You're not... Right? You're thinking of nothing but playing golf perfectly. Right? You have some kind of an advantage over everybody else because you're not in the same state that they're in. Right? Where I'm worrying and I have fear and I'm worried about missing a shot. Nope, he doesn't have any of that. He's he's in a hypnotic state. I've never seen anyone come up with money shots as big as Tiger Woods did in his career. You know what I mean? And talking about consistently playing well and front running, like when he was young and blowing out everybody in those U.S. Opens and stuff. Like, was he really doing it clean, or was he like in a semi-hypnotic state where he was going into his, he may have been MK Ultra in some way. Explosives found near pipeline supplying gas to Serbia and Hungary. So what's going on, right? You can see that they're trying to affect the oil price and the gas price and make it go up, up, up. Oil went down like 11% the other day when they announced that there was some kind of ceasefire coming, right? What's gold and silver doing? It was up $5 the other day. Silver's up 84 cents to $75.66, so it's holding at the $75 range. The word is that some of these guys got knocked out with margin finally, and they can't keep shorting it forever. It's going to have to be allowed to break out. Gold is at 47.84, up 47.60. It was up over 100 yesterday. It was over at 4,800, so it pulled back. Looks like somebody's trying to make a gas and oil shortage, right? So that how is your food delivered? That's what they keep trying to do. They want to starve us again. Same thing they were trying to do before. They can't make you buy up all the food in fear, so they'll just try to cut off the delivery mechanism. How the U.S. unleashed overwhelming firepower to save the stranded airmen under enemy fire in Iran, then obliterated every weapon left behind. I wrote, but you endangered the lives of dozens more to rescue one person. But that's what we do, right? It kind of doesn't make sense, but what are you going to do? Leave that guy there and then tell his wife, hey, we could have saved him, but we just left him to die. And you know what these guys are going to do when they get him? They're going to torture him, right? No man or woman left behind, right? You don't leave your people behind, dead or alive. At least the United States doesn't. We try not to. But again, we've engineered so many wars, it's really a problem, right? You're seeing what we've sort of, all the stuff that we've maneuvered into place in the world, a lot of it shouldn't have never happened, right? We've killed millions of people and affected the lives of millions of people by doing what we've done. The United States has a lot to atone for, unfortunately, because it was used as the, well, if you look at the City of London, right, and all that, the three levels of power between the Vatican, City of Rome, and Washington, D.C. being sort of the muscle, right, that those powers used to enforce and shape the world in the way that they wanted to shape it. They started the first two world wars. All that stuff was manipulated. All the wars of the 20th century were manipulated wars that should have never happened. Iran refuses to open the Straits of Hormuz and dismisses Trump's deadline as Tehran and U.S. review possible peace. Then there was a deal, but it looks like the deal is on shaky ground because of what Israel just did, so we'll have to see. Iran claims it's targeted U.S. amphibious assault ship and forced it to retreat. That's possible, right? These supersonic missiles that they have, I don't think our ships, some of our ships can't deal with that. They don't have, unless they can't deal with something traveling that fast. I don't think a Tomahawk can. Controversial plans to launch 50,000 mirrors into space would disrupt sleep on a planetary scale. Yeah, that's just an insanely bad idea. Where you're going to have, like, beams coming down that are going to scorch everyone living in certain areas. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Don't do it. Israel says it's assassinated IRGC intelligence chief Majid Kademi. Why are so many of Iran's upper echelon of their army so old? You notice all these guys are like in their 60s or 70s almost. There's almost no young guys in this. Upper echelons of their army is all old men. New York City business leader warns exodus is brewing over Zoran Mamdani's tax hike crusade, exploring options. Yeah, a lot of businesses are. And a lot of people are, because they're just fed up with this city and what's going on here. I'm fed up with it. It's changed so much. It's just dirtier. It smells worse. It's not. These people kept saying they're going to make a cleaner city. They made a dirtier city and more polluted with all these food carts. The food carts, the construction sheds, those two things are just making the city look disgusting. It's just horrible to see it everywhere. It's just like every other block you're seeing these horrible sheds. They're ugly looking. They're there for too long. A lot of the buildings are not even doing any kind of construction on the building, and they just put the shed up anyway. It doesn't make any sense. I've seen buildings that never have any work done on them, but the shed goes up, which means they're doing it to just give these illegal aliens jobs. Why don't they look into all these illegal aliens working here and say, where's all your money that you're paid in your paycheck going? Are you paying taxes? You don't have a social security number, so you can't be paying taxes. You have to have a social security number. Trump endorses Steve Hilton for California governor. Is he part of the Hilton family or I think he's part of the Hilton family, and even if he's not, I don't think he's a good choice. He's a controlled entity. Swalwell flip-flops on transparency as he fights the release of Chinese intel files that include him. Transparency for thee, but not for me. Rep. Swalwell has long insisted that all files related to the Trump White House and financier Jeffrey Epstein be disclosed. on the basis that if Trump had nothing to hide, the files should be released. Now that the shoe is on the other foot, Swalwell fights disclosure of files detailing Chinese infiltration into American politics, which includes his own relationship with a suspected Chinese spy named Fang Fang, right? Code name Fang Fang, which you got caught, and Hunter Biden also got caught having sex with a Chinese woman, I believe, that was his minder, right? That was going to have an office right with his dad in Washington, D.C., right alongside him. Israel strikes Iranian petrochemical plant, claims 2 senior IRGC leaders killed. Trump has repeatedly claimed that the U.S. has already won the war, and numerous reports of a ceasefire agreement have ultimately come to naught. So this doesn't make any sense, right? You're saying you're talking to somebody there, but not the Sun? So that means that the Sun is either not talking to you, or there's another group that is in power there? We're not sure. Something doesn't smell or sound right about it, though. Steve Bannon's said to be cleared as Supreme Court makes bombshell ruling. So Bannon's cleared, looks like. U.S.-Iran is reportedly discussing a 45-day ceasefire to avoid escalation. We don't know if that's over yet. It looks like that could be over. And it looks like it only lasted a day or two. Benjamin Fulford is alleging that one of the fake Trump avatars had a massive stroke and died at Walter Reed Medical Center. I cannot obviously at this time confirm or deny that allegation. That was 2 days ago. And then Fulford's report was listed, and the title was, quote, this is from Benjamin Fulford's page, quote, the fake Trump is dead, and even if they replace him with another, it's game over. So that was Benjamin Fulford's page, if you believe what he's saying. And I'm assuming he represents a group that's called the Dragon families, which are like some of the old Asian families, like the Lee family. Those are also people who I don't trust. And he's claiming, of course, that they have all kinds of money they're willing to give to the United States, to do a debt jubilee, to do all this stuff that doesn't appear that, I mean, why would the United States take all this money from China? There's no way that would ever happen. Because then you're going to have to give China right? You're not going to make China pay for all the stuff they did to you to destabilize your country. That's what doesn't make any sense. We should just not trade with China anymore. Oh, your soybeans? No, we're not selling you any food anymore at all. Zero. Nada. Ever. Until you divest from all the stuff you're doing in our country. And if you don't stop, then we won't sell any products to you at all. Period. And none of your products will be allowed into this country. Period. Watch how fast they would come back around, because who do you think buys the majority of their shit? We do. Especially all the cheap shit that they make. And the cheap factories that they create that pollute their entire country. Right? You're polluting your entire country so that you can make a lot of crap that nobody needs. That's really what China does. That's the fact of it. And you have a real estate nightmare that's unfolding in China that's bigger than anything that ever happened in the United States, where you have people just putting up ghost cities. Like whole cities were built in China that nobody ever bought anything there. Nobody ever went to live there. So there's just a whole city that's created with the electric working, the street lights are there, the condos are all there, the stores are all there, the shops are all there, the subways and buses are all made in there, and nobody lives there. They're just completely empty. And when that bubble bursts, China's going to be in a world of hurt that they're not going to be able to fix with any amount of money. Trump administration urges restoring the ballroom construction in emergency motion. Time is of the essence. DOJ motion argues this order is untenable and puts Trump's security at risk. Is he building out shields like, the shield that they want to build? That's the group within the government? Is that their headquarters or some other thing that they're building out? Because why does this massive military complex have to be built underneath the ballroom? It doesn't make any sense. We already have a massive military complex. It's called the Pentagon. And what's underneath there, right? Do you think the Pentagon's just the above ground shit? You don't think the Pentagon has sublevels? Of course it does. So why do we need this huge new complex? What's going to be built in there? A Stargate or something? What are you trying to do? We don't know. Tesla cuts Texas factory workforce 22% amid sales slump. So you just laid off a quarter of your workforce in Texas, which is a huge factory, right? Electric vehicle maker sheds nearly 5,000 workers. You know what that looks like? I don't know if you're aware of, like, because I've been fired on a Friday before where, like, and I've seen people been fired on a Friday where, like, let's say you clock in, right? If you ever, like, going to clock in on a Friday and you see, like, some person that's standing by the clock in area that you never saw before, you might be getting fired. I've seen women in tears and men in tears crying. Got fired on a Friday. They always fire your ass on a Friday. They like to do it too. End of the work week and all. Yeah, don't clock in, baby. You're going home. Here's your final check. Here's your severance. I'm going to need your ID for the building. If you have like a building pass, right? I need that. I've seen people escorted out with security have to escort them out. They're scared they might put a virus into the computer files and shit. That's a lot of heads, man. And, you know, what do you do if you're living in a place like in a Texas town where there might not be 5,000 jobs to replace all those people's work? There isn't 5,000 jobs. You know there isn't. What are those people going to go do? Well, whatever they can do. Some of them might have to leave, right? Execs at New York City Public Housing Agency are making over $200,000 a year. A lot of them are. But it takes 450 days to fix a fridge. I mean, I've seen NYCHA buildings. I know people who've lived in NYCHA buildings, unfortunately, and live in horrible conditions like this. I've been in some NYCHA buildings that are well kept and decent, but most of them are not. That's the problem. Most of them have some form of disrepair. The elevators are usually really messed up. The buzzer systems in a lot of these buildings are broken, which means the doors are just open and anybody could come in. I've been in NYCHA buildings where people urinate inside the fucking elevators and the staircase. It's disgusting. And the problem is that nobody goes to these places and fixes them in a proper way, in a quick way. There's no way for, like, you know, 311 has a lot of issues, a lot of problems. It takes too long to get anything done, and a lot of times you report stuff and it never gets fixed. Genius move. Did ICE just use the DMV as bait to lure illegal alien truck drivers? Yeah, they did. They caught a bunch of them saying, you got to redo your license, this and that, come on in, and then they caught them. That's great. You should keep doing that. They should keep doing it. You should walk to Canal Street right now with like 50 ICE agents on either side of Canal and just push those guys into a big box and then take them all away. And that the problem could be solved in one day. Just take all the illegal aliens who are selling, fake merchandise on Canal Street and arrest them all in one day. Don't let them run away. Grab them all and deport them. Trump insists he's negotiating with active, willing participant on Iran's side, but you're not saying who they are. It's obviously not the sun. The president has repeatedly declared that Iran seeks to negotiate an end to the conflict despite Tehran's publicly bellicose stance and its rejection of core U.S. demands. So who are you talking to? Why aren't we hearing who you're talking to? Usually when you're having negotiations, we see you having talks with, or Vance or whoever would be seen in the country having talks, or somewhere in a neutral country having talks with whoever's on the other side, but we don't see any of that. You're just telling us, hey, yeah, I'm talking to these people, don't worry about it. I was watching Ari's at Home improv Mog stream. Ari's like huge now. He's got 8 million followers, I think, just on Instagram. He's a massive, he's a force is what he is. And he's doing good things for New York. He's changing the vibe in New York to a positive vibe. He's coming, and even though he's Jewish, and it doesn't matter, right? It shouldn't matter. Like, who cares? He's a talented individual that's coming up with crazy good music and beats. That's why I don't see people for their religious background. I don't see, we shouldn't be like this. But we have these groups that try to seek to marginalize us and to put us in boxes so that we can never come together and realize that we are a species that can co-create together, right? If we come together as one. Mamdani and Hochul pat themselves on the back for filling in potholes, drawing scorn. Yeah, I said this guy loves to pat himself on the back, but he's the only one doing it. Like when we had the storm We had one big storm. Oh, Mamdani's doing all these press conferences. Oh, this is what we're doing. Stay in your house. Don't go outside. Who are you to tell me not to go outside when it snows? Well, I can go outside. Okay, you don't want me to drive my car? Okay, well, that's different. I can go outside, though. Okay, you're doing your job, right? The sanitation department's just doing their job. They're not doing anything. You're not doing anything over and above what you should be doing. So what are you telling us? That you're doing your job? Okay, great. That's what you're supposed to be doing. That's what we pay you for. Holy crap. State says Hudson River fish is safe to eat after 50 years. But New Yorkers aren't biting. No, I wouldn't eat anything out of the river. Sorry. I used to play down by the river when I was a kid. I've seen all kinds of shit in that river you can't believe is in that river. Like typewriters, and people used to just literally come down to the Hudson River with like their garbage from their business and dump it into the fucking Hudson instead of paying a carting company to dump it. Cheap bastards. That's what these Indian guys are doing now all over Britain. They're finding them on the highways just dumping their trash all over the place because they don't want to, I guess, pay to have it trucked out of wherever they live or whatever. I would not eat anything you caught in the Hudson River. Not right now. I wrote a lot of fear porns being pushed out there by these alt pundits. I call them the alt pundits, right? Not like the pundits that are, you know, like the ones who we've been following, right? A lot of people were following for a while. The Juan O'Savins and the Gene Decodes and the boxer guy, what's his name, Nino Rodriguez, right? And these people who have like no experience in anything, and you're like, where do these people just like come from, right? And they're talking about information that they can never back up with any factual information. You know, telling all kinds of crazy stories. Kanye West was blocked from traveling to the United Kingdom to headline Wireless Festival because his presence in the country, quote, is not conducive to the public good. In other words, this guy's a nightmare, right? He's not going to do anything but bad to have him in the country. He's going to get people agitated. And we don't want him here. I don't blame you. So it sounds like Kanye West is banned from entering the United Kingdom. I'm surprised because of the way his stance on Jews. You'd think they'd welcome him over there. The way he's talking about Hitler and shit. And then he comes out and says, well, no, I was off like my meds and stuff. What are you off, the laughing gas or whatever you're on? He was a laughing gas addict. You know, that stuff is not meant to be taken on an everyday basis, right? That's some heavy-duty shit you're snorting inside your body. Trump tears into Tucker Carlson over Iran war claims. He's a low IQ person. It's so funny because remember he was friends with Trump for a while. Why are all the pundits, big and small, going off on this fear porn tangent of attacks coming or another COVID or they're all saying again, oh, get all your food that you need. And, all right, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying don't have food in your house, but I'm not saying I'm not here and I don't have any sources, so I don't know. But it just seems like these people keep constantly going off on these tangents where it's like if you go read it before it's news, every other pundit's talking about, 10 days of darkness, 3 days of darkness, the EBS is coming any minute. Right? All of a sudden now they're saying blue beam, there's going to be an fake alien invasion. You've been saying that for fucking years. Just stop fear porning everybody already. It's not working. You're not going to be able to make everybody just live in fear like this anymore. They're not listening to you. Because what you're saying is not happening. It's not coming true. Peter cried wolf too many times, right? I think that Tucker's not a particularly high IQ person, but he's not stupid. He's making a shit ton of money doing what he's doing. And I'm assuming he's probably CIA. Because remember he went to go visit Julian Assange and there was no interview? Why was Tucker Carlson just going to meet Julian Assange for? What are they, best buds? I don't think so. I could think of 100 other people I'd rather come visit me than Tucker freaking Carlson. Another woman comes forward with heinous claims against disgraced icon Cesar Chavez. And why is Pam Anderson going out there so much? How does she get so close to Julian? I never understood that meeting, that pairing of two people. Death threats forced Nick Shirley to hire security. They killed Charlie Kirk. This guy you should have security, or learn how to fight, even better, right? Learn how to throw hands. I mean, I saw him go to Canal Street, and he was being accosted by this big black guy that was right up in his cameraman's face, touching him. You have grounds to strike that man for what he did to you. Once he grabbed the cameraman's hand, you have a right to throw hands, but the guy's 6'2", like 240 pounds, and the cameraman looked like he was about 5'2", 5'4", maybe. And, maybe 125 pounds. So, obviously, he's not going to fight that guy. If you're going to hire security, hire a big fucking dude that really does know how to fight. And that's going to cost you, right? To get somebody because there's levels of security, right? I've seen some security that look like they're security get the living shit kicked out of them because they really don't know what they're doing, right? When you hire security, the guy doesn't have to be the biggest dude, but he definitely needs to know how to throw his hands when need be. There's plenty of people out like that you could find. Shit, maybe I should, next time you're coming to New York, maybe I should say, hey man, I'll come out. I'll back you up a little bit as best I can. You're going to need more than me though. I'm not fighting that guy on Canal Street. He's too big. You're going to need 2 guys to fight him. Or one really competent dude. Iran ends peace talks as women and children form human shields at energy sites after Trump threatened the whole civilization will die tonight. Yeah, and this isn't usually how most presidents start talking, right? I'm going to wipe your whole civilization off the earth. That's some Genghis Khan type stuff, right? That's how Genghis Khan used to talk to you. He'd come up, he'd have all his dudes surrounding your area, and a messenger would show up. And depending on what your answer was, you might live to see another day or you might not, right? Hey, I can take over this area. I'll leave your place here. I'll leave all the men and everybody, but submit to me and you can keep your religion and just pay the tax you owe me and your world can keep on going. Or I can just take it all and kill everybody here. What do you want to do? What do you think most people did? Said, okay, we'll go along with you. So they have women around the nuclear sites trying to stop Trump from bombing it. This whole thing just looks like a whole play that's like it's just bullshit. It's just stupid. Why is this the plan? Whoever's plan this was is an idiot. I say that openly with no hesitation at this point because you're not doing a plan that's for humanity's best interest. And there's no way. There's too many things still going on that shouldn't be going on, right? All kinds of people should have been hung and arrested by now, especially through your first term. Nobody was touched. We have no free energy. The chemtrails are still going on. You've implemented no new banking system. There's no debt forgiveness. In fact, you've gone after more student loan people than were being gone after before. So you've done the opposite. There's the opposite of debt forgiveness. Right? There's no arrest. There's no one's in Gitmo that we can see. No one's been hung that we could see. No free energy. In fact, you're doubling down on gas and nuclear and in liquid gas and all that other shit and coal. So you're not doing even one thing. You haven't shown us any aliens or right? And what about the med beds? That's really, to me, the med beds not being brought out right away is one of the biggest. It's not even a mistake. It's a crime against humanity by not bringing that out if you knew about it, right? As soon as you knew about the existence of these beds, you should have either A, started creating more of them right away with unlimited resources, or in the case of if there were enough, you should have had those centers open within the first 3 or 4 months of your new term. That could have easily been done. And we could have got rid of COVID right away, and that would have been not a problem. But you needed to make all the money off the fake COVID scams that you ran. You allowed all that to happen, and billions of dollars was stolen from the United States government by people taking loans and getting fake appropriation. I mean, look at what's going on just with the hospice stuff now and all this other shit. It's like the whole country is just set up to be a mechanism of fraud. The whole country is a mechanism of fraud. That's what it was set up as. It's not the land of the free, the home of the brave. That's a lie, unfortunately. Maybe it could be that someday, but it hasn't ever been that, unfortunately. From its inception, it was never that. Australian police forcefully chase away Muslims who occupied a street in Sydney to pray to Allah. The streets are not personal mosques. Radio Genoa on X.com. Yeah, the street is... These people do this on purpose. They go right next to a mosque and say, no, we're taking over this area now. No, you're not. So you can see these people getting... And look at how the white people keep telling, oh, what are you doing? They're saying. Listen to them. This is right outside a Christian church. And this guy's trying to make a point. You could see them finally tell him that they make him leave. Here's the cops coming.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
So they're dragging him away? No, you can't pray right here. This is a public space. They're chucking these guys out. That guy gets pushed away. And you hear people saying, what are you doing? No, like they're doing something so bad. You're not allowed to pray in public spaces like this. Do you see Jews bringing out Torahs in the middle of like a public space and blowing a shofar in the middle of right outside of a church? That's never happened. Sometimes a church will invite like a rabbi in with the Torahs, though. I've seen that, but that's never happened where they go. You see another religion go outside of another religious space and try to take it over by praying. I've never seen that by any other religious group. They're praying. So what? You're not allowed to pray here. Now this white guy's trying to stand in front of this guy praying, but they're going to just pull them all off. See how they start screaming as soon as one... It's like these are actors, some of these people, and some of them are white people who aren't even of this faith, right? Australian police forcefully chase away Muslims who occupied a street in Sydney to pray to Allah. The streets are not personal mosques. The street or public space is not a place for you to pray in. Period. Any religion. Here's Imtiaz Mahmoud. In Japan, thousands of Muslims have gathered at the largest castle in the country to hold a prayer and implement Sharia law in several neighborhoods. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi has announced that she will deport all of them whether they are legal or not. So Japan's coming down hard because these people are now talking about implementing Sharia law in neighborhoods in Japan that they live in, allegedly. Here's X.com. Imtiaz Mahmoud. This is from Japan, allegedly. Looks like Japan. Looks like a mass praying again. They're praying in mass fields now in these areas. It looks like Japan from the buildings in the background. So I'll leave that there. This is what this religion seeks to do. It seeks to move into an area and establish its dominance over the people there. And that's why they moved in all these men, mostly military-aged Muslim men, into the countries of Europe, the whitest countries, like we were saying, and warning about it. Nobody did anything about it because I guess it took them time to see what was happening, and by the time they figured it out, it's almost too late. They're all over the place now. Nick Sortor, April 6, X.com. Breaking, Governor Ron DeSantis just signed a law banning Sharia law from being enforced anywhere in the state of Florida. That's why a lot of people are moving to that state, because they like what's going on in that state more than they like I don't like what's going on in New York, but you would never have Sharia law enacted in New York City. That's never going to happen. You need a lot more Muslims here to do that, and that's never going to happen. This should be a federal law. It should be. Mr. Poole 3.0 on X.com wrote commentary account. Breaking, Zoran Mamdani stuns New York, putting Ramzi Qassem, who is a 9/11 Al-Qaeda defense lawyer, in charge as chief counsel. New York, what have you done? This guy put another Muslim into a position that he should not be in. This guy worked as the Al-Qaeda defense lawyer. Why would you... And he also happened to work for the Biden administration, which I find odd. Why would you hire this guy if you're the Bidens, who is a 9/11 Al-Qaeda defense lawyer. Why would you hire him for anything inside your... That makes no sense. White House is forced to deny plan to nuke Iran after warning by J.D. Vance following Trump's end of civilization threat. Yeah, he's playing along right with all these other pundits bullshit that they were putting out. That's how you know he's controlled by somebody. That's why you know that those people, Wano Saban and them, they're with the Black Sun people also, because they're the ones that keep putting out all this disinfo that there's going to be some extinction event. They keep calling it that. Mass extinction event. That's great. That makes everybody get really scared. What mass extinction event? What are you talking about? Is there going to be a nuke? Is there going to be another COVID? We don't know, but we're scared shitless now. I better go out and buy tons of this Patriot food supply shit that you're offering. Oh, and you're selling me Patriot food supply, right? Nino Rodriguez? And you're selling me gold and silver, Wano Saban, and Trump Mogador jackets, right? While you do that, right? While you enrich yourself and get everybody nice and scared. That's why I think these people are really scum. Because not only are you getting everybody scared and doing what your handlers are telling you to do, getting everybody confused and scared, but then you're making money off of it too. And you're having these meetings where you all get together like you're some big patriots and doing the right thing by the country, and you're fucking the country over. You're screwing us over. You're lying to us. You shouldn't make one dime. In fact, some of these people I hope go to jail for fraud. They should. That's why I said when I first started doing this, you can't do this and make any money. If you do, you're not going to have any credibility at all. The only way to have some credibility is to stand on your morals. Which is why I never made a red cent doing this, and I never will, because I'm trying to find the truth, and that's all I care about. I don't care about selling you a jacket or a fucking coin or whatever. I don't give a shit. I'm not about making money. That's greed motivated. That's people that live in the wrong world, right? They're motivated for self instead of for helping others. Israel hits at Iran's South Pars plant for the second time, so they keep blowing up these plants when they're saying there's already a ceasefire. Like, what are you doing? You're hitting other countries after the ceasefire. Quoting the Bible could be classified as hate speech under proposed Canada bill, lawmaker wants. How can you make that the Bible hate speech? Don't I have a right to free speech? Well, if you're going to make the Bible hate speech, then you got to make the Quran hate speech too. You got to make the Torah hate speech, or the whatever the Jewish holy book is. Also, every holy book has to be made hate speech, and then that's illegal, right? Why? Well, but then I can't practice my religion. My religion says thou shalt not kill. What do you mean it's hate speech? It's telling me not to kill my brother. It's telling me to treat my brother as I would treat my friend, right? To treat myself. Treat the stranger as a friend, right? Don't turn the other cheek. Turn the other cheek, whatever, right? Right? When somebody does you wrong, just turn the other cheek. Don't. These are all facets that are good things for humanity, like the Hammurabi Code. People think, oh, well, the Bible came first and showed us all these things. No, there was a law of men before the Bible. It was called the Hammurabi's Code. It was pretty much the same tenets, right? Don't steal. Sorry, don't steal from me. Don't rob me. Don't kill me. Don't rape my family and hurt my kids. Don't rape my wife. Don't kill my wife. Don't kill me and take my shit. Don't steal from me. Don't covet what I have. Same shit. These are basic tenets, right? You don't want to hurt anybody else. Don't lie. Don't hurt people. Live your life in a good, honest way. Which is not what some of these old media guys are doing. They're living themselves the wrong way, right? They're making money and profit off this. They're disinforming the public and making them scared. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Would the same apply to the Torah or the Quran? Are those also hate speech? Because if you just make the Bible hate speech, that you're not treating all the religions the same, and they should. If you think all religious texts are hate speech, then you have to treat the Quran and the Torah and every other religious book in the same way that you're treating the Bible, or else you're not treating all religions the same, and that's a problem. Wireless Festival was canceled, right? Kanye's not coming in the country. He's no good. Yeah, what good can come with having Kanye in the country? You got enough Jew haters in your country as it is. You imported them all in. Mystery surrounds death of 9th scientist tied to U.S. secrets as disturbing pattern grows. So all these scientists are being that have something to do with UFOs are getting killed off. Why? Do they know how to make one? Do they know that there really are no real UFOs? What if there are no UFOs? I think there are. And I think there's all kinds of different alien races that have been coming here too. Not just one or two, I think like dozens. Times Square ball drop to celebrate the U.S. 250th is still going forward, but there's no public event. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you have the ball drop and nobody there? Oh, because it's the FIFA event is going on, and you don't want crowds gathering somewhere because it's a security problem. Well, then don't have FIFA in your city during July 4th. That was stupid. Why would you want to have that FIFA event here anyway? It just brings all these soccer idiots here who like to fight and get drunk and cause problems, right? Plus, you got to build a whole bunch of infrastructure for it that you can't afford. Top New York Dem waves off overdue state budget as business as usual under Hochul. It's built into people's expectations. These people never come up with a budget on time. And when they do, it's rarely balanced. Giant fireball was spotted streaking across mid-Atlantic states. New York Post. 7.7 terabytes of sensitive LAPD records leaked in hack attack. Again, we got hacked. Somebody did. British schools to get knife crime prevention training. Yeah, you need knife crime help now because you got so many illegals coming over there who like to use knives and stab and kill people. Teachers have been stabbed and killed. Right? Try mentioning anything about the Quran to these people. They'll freaking hunt you down in the street and kill you. If it's negative about the Quran or their religion in any way. This was never a problem until you began to import illegal aliens from countries like Africa, Pakistan, India, and others, right? Iran launches missiles at Israel. This is an hour ago. 23 hours yesterday. U.S. installation amid ceasefire announcement. So they still were launching stuff. Mamdani's plan for free buses in New York City hits a pothole. That's never going to happen. He was told by Albany it's just not financially feasible. It costs too much money. And the majority of the people don't even ride the bus. They ride the subway. You want to make an impact? Make the subway free. That would change people's lives a lot because you're paying $3 a fare now. You're riding it twice a day if you use it to get to work. That's 6 times 5 is 30, right? That's $120 a month now you're paying. Just for the subway, that's $120 a month times it out. It's over $1,200 a year you're paying just to travel on that subway, right? So if the subway was free, most people would save over $1,200 a year. That's a big fucking deal. You could put that towards your rent or something else, right? Most New Yorkers don't ride the bus. They ride the subway. This was a stupid ploy in the beginning. People were stupid to believe it anyway, right? Yeah, I'll give you free buses. So what? Most people don't even ride the bus. It's not going to change most people's life in any fundamental way. Oh, you're going to do free grocery stores? Well, that doesn't help me. I can't go to those stores. They're only for certain people. Xi Jinping carries out a record-breaking punishments inside the CCP amid purge of generals. So he is purging people. Taiwan intel, more evidence comes in pointing to Xi Jinping having purged the ranks of the PLA and CCP. So was that the people that were really fucking us? Did he get all those people out? And is it just the good Chinese people left? We don't know. But there was a lot of bad people underneath Xi that he couldn't even deal with. And he's the supreme dude. Reports say the Chinese Communist Party disciplined 983,000 party and government officials. Yeah, remember that one Chinese official? He wasn't even that high up. And he had all that gold stored in his house that he had. Remember that? He had gold bars after gold bars all over the place. And he's low level. So imagine what the higher level dudes, how much crime they're doing and how much money they're stealing. It's epically huge. If a low level official's got that much gold and silver in his house. The morning briefing, Gavin Newsom's wife is a real piece of work. Also, plus she's maybe a witch. Yeah, there's a lot of these people are witches. Hillary's a witch. That's why she's into voodoo and shit. That's why her and Bill went down their honeymoon to freaking Haiti, dude. They're into voodoo. And I told you there's some heavy voodoo people in New York that you don't want to fuck around with them. Nobody fucks with them. You don't want to be on these people's radar. Trust me on that. The morning briefing, Newsom's wife, problem. He's a problem. He's an asset that just doesn't go away. You can't. They voted to recall this guy. They rigged that vote. They can't get rid of this guy. You just have to wait till he gets out of office permanently. And of course, they're going to run him for president, and he'll lose. Senator Johnson says staff untangling Biden cover-up of COVID vax injuries across millions of files. We're just scratching the surface. They covered up so many people getting hurt. Remember all those videos that were coming out of people shaking and all fucked up that kept getting suppressed? Remember that? Remember when the doctors came out saying don't do it? I remember years ago, right as soon as it came out, I was saying don't do it. Here's the quantum dot that Bill Gates was talking about. Hey, you can exercise and make a fucking Bitcoin for yourself. Remember? That's how they tried to pitch it to us. As soon as I saw that article, I said, this thing is bad. Don't touch it. Don't put it inside you. This is no fucking good. And that was the tech that they wanted to use, quantum dot. But it's really worse than that. It's self-replicating nano. Which means that once this nano's inside you, it can make itself into whatever the fuck it wants. How about a circuit board? How about a modem? How about it's transmitting something that out of your body somehow that people could read on their phone, right? When people were going into the cemeteries and they're looking for hotspots and stuff, they're realizing there's people coming up as hotspots that are in the ground dead, right? It's picking up something inside these people that's still functioning. How is that possible? Because you got self-replicating nano inside your body. That's fucking how. And does that have a shelf life, or does it never end, or how does it work? Is it working off the energy of your own body? Well, these are things we don't know, unfortunately. We need the med beds to fully heal and clean ourselves out. That's why they're not letting them come out, right? They want as many people to die as possible. Oil prices plunge after ceasefire, Hormuz Strait reopening announced. Somehow, someone in the know must be making a fortune off oil right now in these past months, I'm thinking, because of the way it's bouncing up, right? Then it was down 11, and, can make a fortune off oil futures if you know that these things are coming. Officials seized more than $4 million worth of cocaine from a Maryland drug ring. There was also a huge marijuana bust. 48 million... Was it 48 million pounds or tons? 48 tons. It was 48 tons of marijuana. That's a lot of weed, man. I think that could be the largest marijuana bust I've ever heard of. Zohran Mamdani backs down on cornerstone campaign promise of New York City free buses. That was always a lie. That was never going to happen, and people should have been way smarter. But anyway, only 2 million people out of 8 million voted, so it doesn't even matter, right? Nobody can figure out that riddle and how that happened. Trump administration live updates. Pam Bondi to skip Epstein files deposition despite subpoena. She's not going to come in, she's saying. She's not coming. Iran halts ships in Strait of Hormuz and issues new demand as Trump's crumbling ceasefire faces furious Republican backlash. Mamdani gets dismal report card from New Yorkers after less than 100 days in office. Eligible young men will automatically be registered for the U.S. military draft. I thought you already were automatically registered at the age of 18, but maybe I'm wrong. I guess you didn't have to register for a time. I remember registering for the draft when I turned 18. You had to. I remember that pretty distinctly too, doing that. So that was so long. I was 18 was what year? That was 1980. 1988. I was in 1980. Yeah, 1988. I turned 18. So at least back then, I remember, filing for the selective service. So I don't know. I guess now it's just you're gonna have to do it, or just do it for you. I don't understand. They're acting like it's some big thing, but I thought that was always the case. Iran wildly accuses the U.S. of breaking ceasefire, blasts America for being unable to leash its rabid dog. So looks like the ceasefire is falling apart because of Israel. New York City bill will force Amazon to hire thousands of local delivery workers, sending customer bills soaring. Well, to be honest, the way they do it now, I'm kind of sick of seeing it, right? They got these trucks show up all over the city. These dudes, sometimes there's 6 or 7 of them hanging around for hours on street corners and wherever they park the truck. And then they unload the packages all over the place, sometimes all over the sidewalk, although they stopped doing that after numerous complaints about them blocking up sidewalks. They used to block up huge amounts of the sidewalk with it. And I'd say to the guy, like, what are you doing? How am I supposed to move? I got to move around your packaging now? You got to do this a different way. And then they started to do it different. But they're still kind of an eyesore. They're all over the place, these trucks. Some of their employees are smoking weed, like, openly, and just they're rude to people. And I don't know. It's just some other thing that you don't need to see on the street. It's like the same with the food carts everywhere, right? Those weren't used to be on every other block like they are now. There are just too many of them. How many shawarma trucks do you need, right? How many guys selling a pretzel do I need? How many guys selling food do I need all over the city? You don't need that many. It used to be that there were businesses that you'd go in, and these are like knocking these businesses out, because if I put this across from your business, and it's taking business away from that business that you're across the street from. It shouldn't. So that's where we are, People are getting sick of this crap, and they're going to make their own change eventually. Iran threatens to pull out of peace talks after closing the strait as Trump's ceasefire descends into chaos and he threatens new strikes. It's hard to negotiate this way, right? We'll say, I'm just going to bomb all your power plants and you'll be in the dark now. There's laws against doing things like this in war. Career criminal accused in brutal stabbing death of Irina Zarutska is deemed mentally incompetent to stand trial. The attorney said that state prosecutors agree with delaying the Rule 24 hearing, with the attorney seeking a continuance of 180 days. This guy knows what he did. He's not crazy. He knows exactly what he was doing. Rio police report largest ever 48-ton marijuana seizure in Brazil. That's got to be the biggest I've ever heard of. The whole summer weed stash just got, it looks like for Brazil, just got caught up. Somebody's going dry this summer. Tight Brazil election raises concerns over U.S. influence in minerals. Are these people still using Dominion machines, I wrote? Because if you are, your results of your election are going to be fake. I'm assuming this guy Lula's going to win again, or whatever. Whoever the fake guy that's in there now, you knock Bolsonaro out. DOJ ex-AG Bondi won't give Epstein deposition to House Oversight Committee. I thought she had to. Political pressure from Somali community hampered Minnesota fraud probes, it turns out, whistleblower says. A key whistleblower in a Minnesota government fraud unit suggests politics may have played a role in undermining investigations into child care welfare rackets, although being less than 2% of the total population. The Somali community is a major political force, having helped elect Ilhan Omar to Congress. Yeah, because you flooded it with Somalis under Obama. That's what you did. Same with Minnesota. You flooded Somalis and Muslims into those two states big time. And now they're starting to flex their economic power when they shouldn't. So that's what I got for you guys so far. Another 2.5-hour news movie. I apologize, but there doesn't seem a way to cover all the angles of what's going on if I don't really cover most of these articles. So I apologize. I hope you're well, working out stretching, staying in your center space. We're still at this point where there's a lot of people that are just waking up, right? That are like literally like, wait a minute, these people are a bunch of satanic pedophiles, and how come all these teachers are pedophiles, and what's going on? How come these people aren't being vetted properly? It's the same way I felt when I woke up. It's like, what the fuck is going on? And I was trying to tell all these people at the time, and nobody was believing me. I'd say, I saw the Twin Towers fall down, man. I was right there. I heard all these noises that sounded like they were demolition charges. I heard explosions and popping, and everyone's like, no, you're crazy, man. You're fucking nuts. That's not what you heard. Nobody ever was even talking about the fact that, where's all the rubble? I don't remember even anyone ever saying that until, maybe sometime in the 2020s. So it takes a long time for populaces to sort of wake up from being conditioned as a whole society like this, right? And I thought, wow, I'm waking up way late to the party. I knew people that were waking up before me saying, Ash, you got to wake the fuck up, man. What's wrong with you, dude? You're not seeing it, and I couldn't see it back then. And then all of a sudden I could see it. And then I tried to help other people wake up and they couldn't see it. And then some of them could see it. And then others didn't see it. And then they walked away from me and I never saw them again. And then some of those people came back later and said, hey, you know what? Some of the shit that you were talking about was right, dude. I just couldn't see it back then. It's like the forest, you missed the forest for the trees, right? We're a 5 sense group of people, right? We operate by our 5 sense world. If I can't see it, smell it, taste it, touch it, right, then it doesn't exist. It's not real. If I can't see it, if I can't touch it, if you're just telling me that aliens exist and you're showing me a screen, how do I know it? I have to be in the same room with the thing to see it, to smell it, to smell what it smells like, to look at it, to touch it, to speak to it. Otherwise, you're just a bunch of bullshit. You're talking nonsense. We are being massively lied to by a group of people who will continue to lie and disinform and misinform us. And all through this time, I've been asking all the same fundamental questions, and they never get answered. Why aren't these things happening? Why is this happening? Why is Europe being flooded with these people? Why are all these countries allowing this to happen? And now we're saying, no, we don't want it anymore. Why did that happen? What was the goal of it all? The goal of it all was to breed you people out of existence, to take your power away, to put so many Muslims into your country that they become the power group, the majority very quickly, and you're bred out of power. That's what I said was happening 4 years ago, and nobody was listening then, really, because they couldn't see it, I guess. They had to wait till Birmingham got so flooded with people of color that white people from Britain are going, what the fuck happened? My country used to look like this, and now it looks like this. How did that happen? It happened because it was done on purpose to you, right? And the people that you put in power did it to you, and that's why people are screaming at Keir Starmer in the street as he walks around calling him a pedophile traitor, because he is. That's exactly what he is. And so the people are seeing it now, and it took this long for them to wake up, for the majority to wake up. So that's why things are happening quicker, because Generation Y, Z, and millennials are saying, what the fuck is going on, dude? Why are these people all still here? Why are you people sitting around for 30 years looking at fucking Chuck Schumer and the Clintons and the Obamas and not touching them and not doing anything? Well, because these people are all in the same gang and they all take care of each other. They pretend that they have different groups that are at odds with each other, but they really aren't. They all are being run by the same people in the end. They're all one group. And unfortunately, I think that Trump is part of that group. So friends, I hope you're doing well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. We'll continue to watch and comment on the events as they unfold, and I try to give you my honest take on and what my intuition is telling me and what my honest take is on the situation. And my honest take on the situation right now is that we're not in a good place because we have fake people running our government. We don't know who they are. We don't know what their aims are, but their aims don't seem to be helping the human populace. Their aims don't seem to be helping the people of the United States to thrive and to be better. It seems like their goal is to control at any cost the United States and the world, and to keep that control in the new age we're going into, and they're not going to be able to do it. That's what I feel. I feel that the new energy is going to be the way that they lose, because they can't put people back to sleep once they wake up in a spiritual way. Once your Kundalini awakening happens, you can't be put back in the box again. You realize that you're part of something bigger than yourself, and that you are larger than yourself, and that your power that you have is much larger than yourself. You've been forced to forget these things, and I think we're at a very, very crucial point in human history where a group of people was put in place to keep mankind from not getting past the point where we're on the verge of right now, where we awaken as a human populace. And so the things of the past, the biblical things that have happened, the floods and these things are all engineered events that happened that should have never happened, that have been done to us, so that we are kept in a perpetual state of fear, a perpetual state of disinformation and not knowing, right? Because if we knew everything, we would be so much more powerful. It's why we're kept in a state of fear and a state of not knowing. And that's about to change, I hope, for the better. So I hope going forward that the energy will continue to be in positive for us. I think we're fighting basically AIs that were created by some bad people a long time ago, right? And we're needing to we need to fix all this problem now. And if we don't do it now, I don't know what's going to happen to the world, but it ain't going to be good. We got to fix this now. We got to get these people out of the way now. And we have to install some kind of other government that's going to fundamentally start changing the way we run this world and ourselves, with an emphasis being on human beings first and human beings' health first. Everybody should have a home. Everybody should have enough clothes and food. That's easily doable in the world that we live in, but we don't let it happen. So friends, I hope you're well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. This is your friend in New York, Ash, NPMP News, signing off for now.